Peace. Greetings to you all. It's your brother Naheem, BKA Lord Abbott, aka Mr. Just the Facts. I got my brother Dr. Logic, the Liberator, in the building. Tonight we're gonna go in on some of the crazy claims made by this guy, young Pharaoh, and this Republican push that's going on. You know, but first I want to just give a shout out to everybody. Shout out to the mods in the building already. I see you, beloved. And hit the like button, hit share. If you want to support, go, you know, you could cash app at Lord Abba. If you want to, I'd rather you support the little fundraiser we got going so that we could get this website in 501c3 started, so we could start changing the narrative of our history. Because what people like that do, right? Like, just like, look at the name, Young Pharaoh. And you look at cats like Polite, Amin, Newt, Set, Toot, whatever, Sarah, Suit, and Seti. What's happening is they are ashamed of their American ancestry. They don't know it. They've never been taught it. The United Daughters of the Confederacy rewrote the history that we received in our textbooks. And so much of what we had was a revisionist history. And because of such, we don't know some of the things about our great ancestors. We don't know about Prince Rivers or Hiram Revels. We don't know the full story of Harriet Tubman. Matter, some of them don't even really know Martin Luther King Jr. They believe that he was a boule coon puppet that was being used by the white man to rock our people to sleep or integrate them into the burning house, etc., etc. Got my brother Josh in the building. Peace, bro. So, we want to get into this tonight, because what we're witnessing right now is the Blexit push that was started, I believe, by Candace Owens. Blexit means black exit from the Democratic Party. We're going to show why and how this is a dangerous proposition for our people. And we're going to get into some of the skullduggery that these guys are using. My brother Dr. Logic said this earlier, or it was either earlier yesterday, where he said there's too much room in the Democratic. I mean, there ain't no more room in the Democratic Party for a bag. So everybody's jumping ship and going to the Republican Party to get them red bags.
Yeah.
So this is what we're seeing right now. So what I want to do is I want to start with this video of this guy, young Pharaoh. And we're going to play it, have my brother Dr. Logic come in and give some historical context. But we want to show you the theme that's being perpetuated by those of our people. We can only call them sellouts, whom are aligning themselves with the Republican Party, largely to get a bag. Like Dave Chappelle said, that got to be an effed up way to make money. So, all right, let's get into this video real quick. We're not going to play this whole thing, so let's go.
This world we live in today, when we look at the segregational area and we look at the laws, right? See, they blame the South on being racist, but that's strategical. And the reason I bring that up is because the laws was created by the Democratic Party. And the reason I'm honing in on the Democrat is because this shadow government, this deep state government, is the Democratic Party. And a lot of people don't know that the Republican Party was created by blacks. It wasn't created by whites. So, you know, the first 100 something Republican politicians were black. And what happened was the Democratic Party was being challenged politically in this country. from, you know, carrying out their Masonic agenda. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so what they did was they created the Ku Klux Klan, and they've already confirmed under oath that the Ku Klux Klan is not only a Christian organization, it's a democratically created organization. And the reason that this is important is because the Democrats did not only have the Ku Klux Klan lynch black business owners to kill the competition economically, they had them lynch black political figures to kill the competition politically. And so this is how blacks started voting Democrats, because the Democratic Party basically used the KKK as a mob to intimidate blacks and black political figures to only vote for democratic legislative viewpoints and policies. And so this is how black people became Democrats, and this is how Republicans became solely white. And then what Democrats did to cover their evil tracks was, in the history books and in the media, they paint the picture of the Republicans of being a party that actually is what they are. And with that being said, the Freemasons, the Freemasons implemented the Ku Klux Klan into the lodge. And so this is why, you know, Ku Klux Klan members, they go by degrees. The leader of the Klan is called the Grand Wizard, because the Ku Klux Klan is a Freemasonic organization. And the original uniform of the Ku Klux Klan was a red and white uniform that I've showed in other lectures with a crescent moon and a star. That's the symbol of Islam. Islam is the symbol of the Eastern sect of Freemasonry, but Islam, the crescent moon and the star is also the symbol that we see above Baphomet's left hand, and the pentagram when it's upside down, which is the symbol of Satan on his head. So the symbol of Islam actually is a Freemasonic symbol. And then what the Ku Klux Klan did was they gave that symbol to black Islamic Masonic figures that they used to penetrate the black community, such as the Nation of Islam and the Moorish Science Temple and all these other entities. And then they adopted the Knights Templar cross that they got from Albert Pike, who Albert Pike was a 33rd degree Freemason.
Right, I'm gonna stop it right
there. Let's cut in right there, because we're gonna play another video later on that's equally as foolish. You understand? Let me tell you something about young Pharaoh and all of these other weirdos who want to take truth and falsehood and make this strange mixture and throw it back out there to the public. So the brother is absolutely incorrect in 99% of everything he just mentioned. But he'll get on here and he'll talk, and because he got locks and he'll curse and he'll say some stuff, the young people will listen to that and be misinformed. This dude should not be getting anybody's ear. So he doesn't know what he's talking about at all. There's nothing scholastic about anything he said. He is 100% inaccurate. So one thing that he said that was accurate, the only thing that he said was accurate was, we heard us talk about this on the show before, where the Democrat Party was forcing people to vote for them and, you know, killing people, doing things like that. But we're going to explain all of that, because they like to just make these big leaps and they don't want to explain anything. They don't name no dates. They don't name no people. They just say a bunch of stuff and they really don't know what they're talking about. So the brother said that the first 1,000, did he say 1,000 or 100?
100, I think it was.
100 Republicans were black. That's absolutely false. He said that black people founded and started the Republican Party. And let me tell you this, right? So what he's talking about, right, is a faction of the Republican Party called the Black and Tan Republicans. All right, let me share this real quick so that we can get some historical accuracy going on, because, you know, these people, they want to play like they scholars and like they know what they talking about and all of that, but we own you. See, we let you do all of that silly stuff when it's about things that don't matter. But when you start to come in here and start trying to talk about politics, you start trying to talk about reparations and stuff, we can't let that ride. We gotta
let me say, I've challenged young Pharaoh. He has this anti-Islamic thing. He's like Polite 2.0. You know, you come in and what you do is you ride on everything that our people is into, whether it's Christianity, whether it's Islam. So I put several challenges out to this brother to have a debate about Islam. He ignored me. I remember I went on his live one time, 3 different YouTube accounts. He blocked me from each and every last one of them, calling him out to a debate because he knows that he cannot stand up against any real scholarship whatsoever. These guys are pseudos and they do it for YouTube, point blank, period. Oh,
yeah. Let's
okay,
get
so there
to
we
it.
go. All right.
Yeah, let's get to that. So, all right, look, right, check it out. This is what he's talking about, right? He doesn't really know enough. He doesn't really know what he's talking about. He's talking about the black and tan Republicans were African Americans in the Reconstruction era South who were loyal to the Republican Party. This is what he's talking. We talked about. If you watch our show, you'll know more than young Pharaoh just watching 1 or 2 of our shows. Right. We talked about the black Republicans and the black legislators in the South. We talked about that. When the Republican Party was founded in 1854, listen to this. When the Republican Party was founded in 1854, few African Americans joined. How could they have started it if only a few joined in 1854? Joined. They didn't find anything because the Republican Party was first the Whigs Party. The Whig Party in 1854 transformed themselves into the Republican Party. You understand? And it wasn't white. It wasn't no 100 black folks. None of that. None of that. That came later. That came during the 60s, about a decade later. Then you start seeing this rise of the black Republicans, and then they started to grow after that. It tells you. So this is the stuff he jumped. He missed about a whole decade and thought that the Republican parties would started right here. So then he's talking about the time of the election of Abraham Lincoln, the party began to attract support from Northern blacks, including crucial Frederick Douglass that supported all this stuff in the late 1860s, right? None of this stuff is about black folks founding the GOP. Black folks did not start the Republican Party. But even if black folks did start the Republican Party, we're going to go into the other part of the con. The other part of the con is they want to tell you that, he starts saying that the Democrats, they told a lie and that they created the KKK and they want to make you to think that they're the Republicans of yesterday, they're Lincoln's Republicans and the Democrats, and it's this whole big deep state conspiracy and everybody's all confused. No, brother, you confused. We know what's going on. Go to all you gotta do is stay current. Go to the present day Ku Klux Klan members and ask them who they vote for. Mm-hmm. If you go to Mississippi right now, the Klan ain't voting Democrat. Goofball, they voting Republican. Fact. You got to understand that. So we're gonna talk about the party.
Wait, hold on. We gotta reiterate what you just said. We gotta reiterate that point. If the Klan was founded by the Democrats, why is the Klan today voting Republican? The Klan backed all of the Republican presidents. Every year they got to turn down, what's that guy's name? David Duke's endorsement. Mm-hmm. Right? Every single election cycle, they got to turn down this guy's endorsement. Understand this, family. The Democrat, there's only, in politics, there's 2 wings. There's the right wing and there's the left wing. That's it. They're called liberals and conservatives. In the early 1800s, when this country is first founded, the conservative wing grows out to be the Democratic Party. The liberal wing at that time is the Republican Party. This is simple history that any of you can look up right now. Look up, just Google keyword Dixiecrats.
Keyword. Mm-hmm. So real quick, right? Yeah, I want them to understand, right? So when the Democrats were those Democrats, those Ku Klux Klan members and all that, so you got to understand when it happened. So that first surge of white hatred, that Democratic, those Democrat Klansmen were deemed terrorists. The federal government organized agency to go and address that situation. So the Ku Klux Klan was disbanded. They have a whole entire, piece of legislation called the Ku Klux Klan Act. You can go look that up. But then after several decades, they had a resurgence of the Klan that was tied into a movie called Birth of the Nation. Right? And then that's when you get the rebirth of the Klan.
Right.
You understand? So then that's when the Klan came back and they wasn't Democrats. You understand? The Klan came back and they was Republicans. So you need to understand the real history of this switch. And y'all can't keep playing this con because you can't pretend to be the Lincoln Republicans, but you don't got no Lincoln policies. You want to be Lincoln Republicans, but you don't want to do no Lincoln reconstruction. So we gonna get into it. I don't want to get ahead of everybody, but we just want to first of all dispel this myth that Black folks created the Republican Party.
That don't even make sense.
Don't even make sense. Talk to him, Josh.
What he said was 100, founded by 100 Black Republicans, the first 100 members. But he was talking about, we just showed it in 1854. I mean, so where were these 100 coming from? You know, where would they come? So, because 1854, we still in chains, you know? So how would those people get the support and get the backing to have any type of political power in that scenario where all the people that would support them or who would put them in office, like we saw during Reconstruction, was still in slavery, it was still chattel slaves? It just doesn't make any kind of sense, you know. I'm gonna let us move on to the next point. Then I'm gonna hop in.
All right, let's address something real quick. Brother Hannibal Bay says, so because I consider myself a conservative, I got to roll with the Republicans. Understand this, brother. When they're using that term conservative, and I urge you all to look into that, because we have to legitimately ask the question, how can you be a Black conservative? To conserve right now, conservation means protecting Confederate statues. Conservation means protecting the Confederate flag. Conservation means being the dominant citizenry here in the United States of America, keeping our people, AKA Black folk, AKA Negro, under heel. That's what it means to be a conservative. It has no other meaning, no matter which way you try to fluff it up or push it or twist it or turning. That's what a conservative means. It means to conserve a portion of history that is bred with the right-wing fascists in the United States of America. Like, this is, I mean, I don't understand how you can't do simple research and see how they define it today and what it originally was defined as you just keep reading. I don't understand it.
Yeah, somebody in the chat asked, can you name some Republicans, some Democrats who turned Republican? I don't know if y'all wanted to get into that, but I thought that was a good question to kind of prove the point, because
okay, well, let me pull up something.
Strom Thurmond is the first one that comes to mind. You know.
Okay, let's pull up something real quick.
Virginia Mills Godwin is another one.
The Southern strategy. In American politics, the Southern strategy was a Republican Party electoral strategy to increase political support among white voters in the South by appealing to racism against African Americans. As the civil rights movement and dismantling of Jim Crow laws in the 1950s and 60s visibly deepened existing racial tensions in much of the Southern United States, Republican politicians such as presidential candidate Richard Nixon and Senator Barry Goldwater developed strategies that successfully contributed to the political realignment of many white conservative voters in the South who had traditionally supported the Democratic Party rather than the Republican Party. They're talking about the racists here. It also helped to push the Republican Party much more to the right. And what you have now is today is a progression of that push until they get the king that they're looking for, and Donald Trump. This is simple. This is light work. This is light work, man.
Understand what that's like culminating from. You're talking about Lyndon Baines Johnson. He was the president that assumed office after JFK was assassinated. And through all of the backlash that came from the civil rights movement, through Malcolm X being assassinated, through just all the pushing that was going on. Civil Rights Act, I mean, there's a whole story behind how that actually came to actually get enough support to happen. That's another story. We talk about white women in the South and them getting sex added into it. But you know, after the Civil Rights Act was passed and all this transformative legislation was passed, there was a huge backlash with those white Democrats that was so disillusioned. Many of them, you know, the racist Southerners, they decided to, okay, we're gonna jump ship. We're gonna go to this Republican Party. It's not that hard to figure out and understand. The racists saw that significant civil rights legislation was passed, a wave of new things that open up opportunities for us to have some type of inclusion, so where we just couldn't get completely violated. And after, you know, you talk about schools opening up, you know, employment protections, all these different things. And it's not hard to figure out how they would be pissed off and they would say, you know, we're done with this Democratic Party.
Mm-hmm. So let me speak to that. So because it ties into the party switch and this conservative ideology historically in this country. So you can have your personal feelings of what conservatism is, but the political history of conservatism is conserving state rights. That's what conservatism is. They want state rights so they can do what they want to do in their own individual states. So they buck federal government and they don't like central government. So that's how you get the Confederate States in the first place, because they've always been anti-federalist. So if you have to understand the history of federalism versus the anti-federalism ideology first, then you'll understand what this liberal and conservative, and it goes all the way back to Europe. But when you come over here, right, and you get states, you get state government, and you have a regional government sharing power with the central government, you have to understand that they want to conserve their state authority and keep a state government that is stronger than the central government so that they can have slavery, so they can create a feudal system in the South where they can live like lords and barons and they don't have to answer to nobody. So they don't like federal enforcement. They want to be able to live in their own little countries all throughout America doing what they want to do. So that's what when you say conservatism, you might mean something else, but that's what it means in America. Conserving state rights, and state rights is linked and hooked and melted in to racism in America, to white supremacy. This ain't just no black power talk. We talking about white supremacy being talked about on the General Assembly chamber floor, where they're saying we are supreme in race, religion, culture than the Negro. We talking about governors having this type of conversation to the white citizenry in open forum. They talking about they're legislating they put white supremacy in literal language in legislation. That's what they talking about conserving. So when you talk about you a black conservative, they laughing at you like you helping us conserve a system of policies and a system of oppression and disenfranchisement, and we're going to use you to say the things that we would get ridiculed for in this day and age. But if we put a brown-skinned woman out there and say it sounds hot, like, oh yeah, black folks, we need to do for self, and we lazy, and we just need to put our money together. What's wrong with us? We got more opportunities than we've ever had. So if I can get a black person saying that, then I don't have to say it, because they know it's racist when I say it. But if I put Angela Stanton in front of you, or if I put a Candace Owens in front of you, or if I put a young Pharaoh in front of you, then it'll be like, wow, well, it can't be racist because you don't understand what racism is.
Yeah, and while we on that note, we also have to keep in mind the conflict of interest. I don't know why, like when people are talking to you, you don't, just because they don't wear the badge on the shirt for who they working for, who their paymaster is, that we don't think to ask or to look into like what may be motivating the words that are coming out of their mouth. Who is writing the checks? And because how does a person go from winning a lawsuit using the NAACP to then transition to becoming to getting married to the the chair of Turning Point UK, you know, to going from working for Turning Point USA, then working for PragerU. Like, how does that happen? That's like, that just screams grifter. Just grifter, and it just screams like, I'll sell you out for anything. So how can we listen to a person and give any credence to what they have to say? And then, just like the same way we're talking about what the Ku Klux Klan is doing and how they're voting, maybe that should be a tip off or a clue as to, okay, maybe this is not the interest we need to be supporting.
Just look at all the Confederate flags.
Candace Owens, and we see how people are supporting her, and the same Klan members are sharing Candace Owens video.
That's right. Exactly.
So why is that not a tip off?
So basically, the Confederates have a symbol. The KKK has a symbol. It represents white supremacy. It represents white dominance. It represents for them a time long gone by when they were the rulers, basically, in a way that they like to rule now. How do you see all of these people that wave the Confederate flag? They are Republicans. They are Republicans. They are the Klansmen. These are the people that support Donald Trump right now. How do you try to bring us out of the Democratic Party into the Republican Party? And I'm going to speak to that part a little bit later, right? We're going to get into that a little bit deeper. But what I want to do right now is I want to play this video of this one guy, this king face dude. He's just, these dudes is crazy. And then we're going to get into his background and the background of Candace Owens. And I had shared a comment on the screen about, their particular background. So let's get into, hold on. Let's get into this real
Let me say something real quick too. If anybody's wondering why we're spending time talking about these individuals, like it or not, they're younger. They figured out how to use social media. Like we said, it's not a whole lot of room. It's not a whole lot of room for them to grift over here. It's plenty grifters on the left, I should say. Now, I'm 80 West, gender politics, not party politics. But it's not a whole lot of room to grift on the left. And we won't have that. We'll snip that out real quick. So it's a bag to be had. And it's, anytime the supply is low and the demand is high, the price is going to be high.
Mm-hmm.
I say it right? Econ, yeah. Anyway, so like these people
let that degree go to work.
Yeah, they have that position. That's Econ 101. I hope I think about it too hard. But they got that position over there. They can get to the bag. So, and these people are on their job every day. They're on their job every day and they're gaining followers. They don't care who like them and don't like them. They're influencing young people. And these young people, like I'm going to just tell you, my son, I'm not going to be too long-winded so we can get to the point. My son, one thing I learned about teaching young babies and very young, early age learning is you have to make sure you teach them the right thing the first time. Teach them the first time when you teach them something, it better be right. If not, you're going to spend a whole lot of time like trying to get them to unlearn it. So that's why we're spending time talking to, going at some of these younger grifters, because the young people get charged up on language. They haven't had enough experience to know better. They haven't had enough studying to have read and be better learned. So these people need to catch this work so they can see other people that maybe they can see themselves like this younger people, and they can see these people getting exposed and cleaned up. So they can be like, wait a minute, let me validate this. This person ain't right and exact, and they gotta make some choices. So I can break down why we're going at these people.
Definitely. Shout out to my brother Ali that just joined. Ali, did you want to say something before I played this King Face video?
I'm just coming in, so I'm not really sure where y'all are at. What did you cover so far?
Go ahead.
We was talking about the switch. I know you from when the Republicans switched over to Democrats, how that gets all confused and how people use that to kind of, further the confusion and, try to use that as a popular talking point to bring black bodies over into white Republican world,
Right. the thing, I don't know what you guys had, added on to that, but that's something, that particular switch is something that had been happening since the close of Reconstruction. There's an actual article on it, done by the House of Representatives at their government website. You can read about party realignment, and it gives you a whole breakdown of what happened and why it happened, leading from, the end of Reconstruction. And when you do further research, you have to look at what happened with Barry Goldwater, with the GOP nominating him, someone who voted against the Civil Rights Act, and nominating him for president back in 1964. So, that opened the door for a lot of racist segregationists to go from the Democrats into the Republican Party, as the Republicans had over time been abandoning blacks, anyway. And that article that I'm telling you about at the house.gov actually speaks on that. People can look that up. Just look up party realignment and research that. That's very easy to research, and there's a whole chronology based on what happened and how it happened and why it happened, and how it culminated in this incident with Barry Goldwater in the 1960s, and how people really kind of just made up their mind at that point that they were going to go ahead on and switch. And a lot of the, like I said, segregationists from the Democratic Party went and switched into the Republican Party. Basically, that's it. I'm sure y'all probably already covered that, though.
Yeah, we went into a little bit of the Southern strategy, and that, yeah. But I'm glad you added some more depth to it, because we didn't go deep. And what we're trying to do is just like lead people to the sources so that they could read for themselves. Like you don't have to take our words for anything. We just gonna show and prove every single time, and we're gonna, like, when you listen to the video that we played of young Pharaoh earlier, all he was doing was just rambling on, and he sounds smart to the ignorant. And that's not a diss at the people that don't know. We've never had the proper education. We never had the proper political education until now, which is one of the reasons why we always give shouts out to ADOS. This ADOS group, and again, we always shout out Yvette and Tone, because they've helped us grow our political thinking, is the sharpest intellectual group that I've ever been a part of, hands down. And I've been a part of a couple of groups. This is information that's grounded in reality. It's grounded in the here and now. It's not based on fantasy and we all came through that stuff. At the end of the day, this was escapism. We were trying to find a way to mentally escape the conditions that we were mired in. I grew up in the housing projects of New York City. It was rough. I mean, it was rough, man. That was, you look back on that stuff and you wonder, how were you ever able to smile? And we're gonna get into some of the numbers. So what I want to do right now is I want to play this clip from this king face guy. This guy's a joke, man. This dude is a joke. But we're gonna get into this real quick. All right, let's go.
I'm saying, but we got lost in the sauce when they changed that whole thing about, oh, the party switched. Well, show me how they switched, and then we could talk.
Are you familiar?
Wait, now
is even Donald Trump familiar with the movement?
All right, hold on.
ADOS.
You talking about the?
All right, hold on. Notice he's talked about the party switching. So I had everything queued up so we could talk about this lie that these people that call themselves Black conservatives or Black Republicans keep trying to tell our people, that somehow this party switch or was made up. It's a lie. But I mean, the history is clear. Who you gonna believe? Some brother with a MAGA hat on and a Blexit shirt lighting up blunts on Sinetta TV, or the actual historical records? Like, we got to be honest here
with the
at some point.
ADOS.
You talking about the beggars?
He calls ADOS the beggars.
You call them the beggars? Why you the ADOS movement? Yeah, why you call them the beggars? And then let me know if do you think Donald Trump is aware of that movement?
He's aware of everything.
And why do you call them the beggars?
Because they're begging for stuff that they didn't earn. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got nobody alive today that's a slave that we could give that money to that earned it. We can't prove nothing. You know what I mean?
So you're saying that the children don't get the benefit off of that because they have stolen the wealth from their mothers and fathers. And so, no, look, check this out, King Life. Check this out. You got a watch on your arm that you got from your grandfather, right? I come into your house and take your watch and parlay that watch into an empire because it's worth millions and millions of dollars. So I take that. Over 100 years later, now you got white people who are healthy, who are millionaires, who are rich because of what I have stolen from your family. So you're telling me that your babies and your grandbabies do not deserve that wealth, and they don't, and now I don't owe them nothing? Listen to what you're saying, brother. You got to be careful. So are you saying that, brother?
I'm not gonna be careful. I mean it. Like we gotta stop. We gotta stop looking for begging and thinking that money is gonna change our lives. You know what I'm saying? Because you guys been receiving $44 trillion in the last 50, 60 years. They invested $44 trillion into our communities, and out of that, what is money doing?
I want to pause there. Notice how he separates himself from us. Every time he speaks, it's never inclusive. He's not even pulling a Joy Reid where he's pretending to be one of us and pretending to be of our legacy. Listen to this guy real carefully. He's very careful to say they've invested whatever number he pulled out of his head, and so invested into y'all's community. Why y'all begging? Why y'all doing this? And there's a reason for that. Let's continue.
You know what I mean? Money ain't gonna do shit. And how we gonna determine?
Money ain't gonna do nothing, he says. Peep that. Money is not gonna do nothing. And he's about to say, how are we gonna determine these are all the talking points of white supremacists. How do we know? Because we're battling these people on Twitter every single day. Every day. These people are, to use these terms, these people are black white supremacists. Let's finish.
Exactly. To pay it, and who's gonna pay it? Now, if you do want to go to that aspect and y'all want to go get y'all a little slave money, if you want to go get that, then you need to tell to the Democratic Party. If they are registered Democrats, then they should be paying those taxes to make sure all you guys get your reparations. Because my Republican Party is not paying for that, because we the ones that made you fucking sleep free, motherfucker. We the ones that made sure you niggas was able to own shit. So you ain't gonna tax us for no slavery we didn't get no fucking money off of, right?
Yo.
Now y'all go to y'all Democratic Party, the ones that was pushing for slavery, that wanted to keep y'all niggas. You understand what I'm saying? Y'all go tell them to go pay for that shit. But if I or any of my white friends that are not with that shit have to pay for that shit, it's a dub. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not paying for that, because that money it's gonna come from everybody. It's gonna come from people like me that fucking work. It's gonna come from people like me that pay taxes. It's gonna come from people like you, Sinetta. Because where they gonna get the money from? Huh?
Yo, do we have to listen? Do we have to suffer through any more of this?
Let's stop.
It's like how much ignorance and foolishness does one have? Like, and the sad part is there's people out here really thinking that that's hot. They listening to that. It's like, if you don't listen to that and understand that he's not us, and there's no way you could be ADOS and have parents and have grandparents. No, I know.
He's from Haiti. I was on another show. I thought it was that show. I think Sinetta may have cut that part of the video out, but I just completely crushed this dude. I called in and just destroyed. I don't even know if I called in or if I joined the actual live stream. Him and Polite. I had to wash them up real quick.
Yeah, but listen, right? This is how that don't make any sense. Like, he's from Haiti, right? His family's from Haiti, right? He has a Blexit shirt on. What is he even talking about? If he's probably never been Democrat.
He was never in it.
You was never even in the Democrat Party. So what are you coming out of? What is this black exit you're coming out? What you're doing is trying to insert yourself into our business.
That's right.
Because you are trying to come over here and be a part of something that wasn't created by you. So you're talking about make America great again. But you and yours didn't come over here until we made America not only great, but comfortable enough or free enough and safe enough for you and yours to come over here and eat. So we created America for your family to come over here. But you're talking about black politics like you got a voice in this space. You don't get to talk king face. You're like, there's some real weird stuff that you're saying.
The weirdo.
Money doesn't change nothing.
He said it's not going to change nothing. It's not going to help us. Like, so people just Candace Owens and this King Face dude, they're not us. They're not ADOS. They come from, like, in order to think that way, your parents had to think that way. My brother Josh just gave y'all an example of when you're teaching a child, it's very hard to get them to unlearn something that you didn't get right the first time. Imagine growing up in a household where, and remember, there was a woman on CNN, I can't remember if she was from Nigeria or Liberia, and she was being interviewed, and she was told that her parents told her, yeah, stay away from the blacks, of the American blacks. They are this, they are that. Like, this is why we're doing what we're doing. People call us xenophobe. These people are not us. They're not from our lineage, but they come in and they drape themselves in us. He looks like one of us. He from New York. He looked like just a regular New York cat. And Sarnetta in the beginning of that video was talking about how he was organizing Bloods and Crips. I don't know no homies that would rock with that dude, but I don't know. But once, if you get me in the room with any of the homies and this dude, they not rocking with this cat at all, because I'm going to just expose him. And I was on the interview with Sarnetta, and I asked him, where's your lineage from? And he said, I descend from pharaohs. I said, well, if that's the case, we all do. But that's not what I'm asking you. You know what I'm asking. And he had to admit that he's from Haitian descent. Again, like, people, we are not trying to create this us against them vibe, but we got to protect our house. And if it comes off that way, then so be it. So be it. That God doesn't get to come over here and tell us that we...
we not just a group of shields, and we've been very good at protecting this movement. And you have so many people who put up the shields, and you can't just beat up on us no more like you used to. But we not just a group of shields no more. We got swords too, and we ain't letting y'all. We ain't gonna be on defense all the time. Clowns like King Face and Young Pharaoh want to tell you. I'm gonna play another clip where Young Pharaoh is talking about it's impossible to prove that you was even a descendant of slaves because it's too convoluted through the genotype. Dude, are you talking about my grandparents? I know who my great-grandmother's grandmother was. She was born in 1834 on the Purdue slave plantation in Georgia. I know her. That's my family. I don't need to go to You start talking about Ancestry.com and genotypes and all these different groups. You don't need to do that. You don't have to do that.
Genotype doesn't have anything to do with it, man.
I want to get to this. I want to get to this real quick, and I want y'all to go in, and then we're gonna pull up something from Sister Angela Stanton. I actually like Sister Angela Stanton to a degree. I love the way she undressed the Breakfast Club. I reveled in that. I just have to be honest with y'all. I absolutely enjoyed that. But sometimes your heart and your mind are at variance. So here is I wanted to pull something up. These people are trying to get us to go into the out of the frying pan and into the fire. So the frying pan is the Democratic Party, who does nothing for us but make a whole bunch of promises year after year after year after year, and we get very little to nothing. And now they've just X'd us out of the picture. It's Hispanics and LGBTQ across the board. Joe Biden was asked on the debate stage, what about reparations? This dude, Joe Biden, said...
You got to invest in the Hispanics, the Latino.
He said the Hispanics and the Latinos are the future of this country. How do you get that out of a reparations question for America's descendants of slavery? Y'all got to know what's going on. Spread the word, family. Share this video. We not playing no more. We not having it. We educating in this space right here. Point blank, period. All right, let's get to this. Okay. You want us to leave out of the frying pan and jump into the fire. Jump right into the fire of the Republican Party, the conservatives, the right-wing fascists of America. So I pulled this article up, and this
with gasoline draws on.
With gasoline draws on, right? So I pulled this article up dealing with 15 states, basically the 15 poorest states in the United States of America. I'm not gonna, because I want my bros to come in and get into a bunch of what we're talking about tonight. I want to play the other videos that my brother Logic has, and I want to play the King Face interview. The Angela Stanton interview on Sinetta. Okay, so this is basically the data. That's one thing ADOS, we learned how to do the data, and the numbers don't lie. You can't get around the numbers. They do not lie. So we're going to start. Missouri. Is Missouri a red state or a blue state?
Red.
Red state, right? Okay, we ain't even going to get into the numbers. We just going to get into, this is a compilation of the 15 poorest states. Nevada, red state or blue state? Red state. Nevada is a red state. Tennessee, I ain't even got to ask that question. I could go right to the next one. Red state. Oklahoma, another red state. Yeah. South Carolina, another red state.
Super red.
Florida is a purple state, but it went for Trump the last election, so it teeters on red. However, it always teeters on red. Maine, I guess Maine is it ain't a lot of our people in Maine, so I don't know what's going on. But they have a high poverty rate, so they're on the list. Kentucky, a red state.
Red.
Okay, Alabama, I don't even got to say it. Everybody know Alabama is a red state. North Carolina is another,
it's red.
It's a red state. It teeters on being purple, but it's a red state.
Yeah. What's important when you're calling out these states is because these new Black Republicans are all rallying around this Trump savior. So you have to understand which states voted for Trump. In North Carolina in 2016, definitely voted for Trump.
That's right.
I got the map up for who all voted for Trump too. That's right. Understand that. Let's go.
Yeah, we're gonna pull that up to Arkansas, red.
Red.
New Mexico, red. West Virginia, red. I believe West Virginia is red. And you look at the poverty rate.
Yeah, West Virginia voted for Trump, red.
Okay, Louisiana, red.
Yeah.
Number 1, Mississippi. Now, how is it? Mississippi, red state. Somebody explain to me, please, how is leaving them, because they like to point to Baltimore and Chicago and New York and Los Angeles, these cities in what's called blue states, while neglecting to bring up the impoverished conditions in whole states that are Republican.
That's right.
Like, how do you want me? Look, some might disagree with me on this. That's fine. It's my belief that we just need to start a whole new political party. That's my belief. I'm going to stand on that belief. But you can't tell me to jump out of the frying pan of the Democrats into the fire of the Republicans and get burned up. Which state am I going to move to? And that's just 15. I live in the state of Georgia. Georgia is another state. Many of the cities in Georgia where we have large populations are poor. So what policies are you trying to separate from the Democrats that work with our people in Republican states? You people are crazy listening to young Pharaoh and King Face and Candace Owens and Thomas Sowell and David Clark. I could just name a bunch of these. They're clowns. We have to call them what they are. These people are clowns. Period.
Yeah, let me just hop in to say something. So it's not gonna work. This analogy is not gonna work for all of them because we have some of those people that are ADOS, but what we find, especially with the two younger ones that you mentioned, was they were not ADOS. And that's very important because how are you gonna let somebody who doesn't have bones buried, who's not still holding the cost, who really is not rooted in ADOSness and everything that comes from being that, influence you to make life decisions and how you use your vote? That's very dangerous. That's very dangerous. That's just like, I don't even want to try to make an analogy. What I want to do is I'm going to share this real quick. It's I want to share with this. Hold on. Let me share my screen here. All right. I want to just break this down. This is we've been to this several times. This is a list of ethnic groups in the U.S. by household income. The reason I'm sharing this with you is because I want to show you that ADOS is not on this at all. You look by ancestry. Number 1, Indian American. Now you can go all the way down this list and you can see and all these different nationalities where other people can go traverse back and forth. So they can have two citizenships or two passports in some cases, and they have income that's disaggregated from just whiteness or just Hispanic or just Latino or just Black. The only one, oh no, this is Americans. I was about to say they changed it. The only one that's not on this list is ADOS. There is no African American or American descendants of slavery disaggregated data. But so we can't see how bad our median family income. So, but you can look and see we'll probably be somewhere around the bottom. You know, even if you look at like Native Americans, who by the way own slavery. A lot of the five civilized own slaves. They even got disaggregated data. So what are you really basing? So if you want to base that decision off of some numbers, you're basing it on numbers where they're actually the ones propping up the group. Because we look down at the bottom. Even Ethiopian Americans, 41,000. You know, Nigerian is somewhere on the list. Barbados, 56,000. West Indian American, 56,000. Nigerian, 60,000. We know what the Nigerian American numbers are on the wealth data. Let me stop this share. On the wealth data for Los Angeles. I don't know if y'all want to pull up the wealth data by you can pull up the wealth data by city, the graph, the one that has all the cities and has all the ethnicities on there. But yeah, if we pull that up, we'll see ADOS 4,000 hard. I think it's Nigerians is.
I'm about to pull that up because we need to just touch on.
My point I'm making about us making the decisions based on them. Like how can you let them lead your politics? That doesn't make no sense. They don't have no real skin in the game ancestrally. So, that was
the wrong thing. Wait, how in the world? Oh, yeah, I pulled up. My bad.
So like, it's extremely problematic when you think about like who is really following them. Okay, here we go right here. So you say Los Angeles, U.S. Black descendant. Now this is hard assets. This is not liquid assets. This is hard assets. This means your asset holdings like your house and all this kind of stuff, and you subtract your what you own, subtract what you owe from this total. Not this total, but this is how you get to the total. That's called your net worth. What you own and what you owe. What's the difference between the two of those? That's your net worth. So we look here, and it says, now where does it say? African Black, 72,000. That's wow.
In Los Angeles.
Blackness, right? So
yeah,
King,
Los Angeles,
like Haitian American or whatever, we can't let you make decisions on the 72. I know you're not Nigerian, but we can't let the 72,000 or any of those other. I'm sure in Miami. What is it? Caribbean Black, like 12,000. Right.
I mean, I hope that people are paying attention. I want people to pay attention to this chart that we have up. This is vital. It shows that in
screenshot this.
Yeah, screenshot this. Ask me for the image if you're my friend on Facebook or on Twitter or whatever. This is the information that we've gotten from the ADOS movement. We've looked into this stuff ourselves. Our brother Josh, I mean, he got a degree in business, man. He breaks this stuff down he helps us make it plain, basically, right? So look at what African Black wealth is, $72,000 against U.S. Black descendants wealth in a place like Los Angeles. Now let's go right next door to Miami. It's $3,700 for ADOS, U.S. Black descendant, but $12,000 for the Caribbean Black. Who's in Miami? A bunch of Haitians largely. You see, these people have come over here and surpassed us. And I was about to round that video out with King Face, where he basically says, I'm good. I got mine. I bet you do. America made a way for you to come over here. Let's go to the next one real quick. In Boston, it says Caribbean Black worth $18,000. U.S. Black descendant only worth $8, family. $8. How do
it's important while y'all saying that, understand where they talking about in the whole scheme of the show. This is the wealth and how it's playing out. Disparities. These are Republican states they talking about. These are Republican cities they talking about. So if life is so good for black folks, ADOS in particular, under Republican administrations, why can't we see that reflected in the numbers? If Trump's America is so great, why doesn't that reflect in the data? I don't understand what they having us run to. We should be able to see, they want to talk about Trump's economy, Trump's doing this. Who is he doing it for, though? Who is that? Whose economy is Trump's economy working for? Because they're showing you that it ain't working for us.
I'll tell you what, the billionaire Kanye West, they just put out an article where the billionaire Kanye West went to government and got millions of dollars for his company.
Talk to him.
So it's working like that.
What you need that for, Kanye?
I gotta pull up a other screen. I want to talk about something else. Since hold on, will it switch? Will it switch screens? That's not the one I want. Let me stop this real quick. I got it, and let me share it again. Because we want to talk about they talk about Trump's economy, but then that should translate right into jobs, right? So we should be able to see, black folks working in these Republican states. Where are the black jobs at? Like, we've always been advocating for jobs.
That's right.
I think I'm ready for it now. You can pull it up. We can look at these red states and we can see the unemployment numbers. This is from 2019, but Trump's economy is so good, right? Trump's economy is so good for black folks because this is who they telling to come. They talk about us. They want us to come to Trump's Republican Party. That's what they call it. We're blacks for Trump. But in Arkansas, you see the disparity though. Whites. So you see the overall percentage in Arkansas of unemployment, right? Look at blacks in that though.
Yep.
Look at the blacks. Let's go to Mississippi because I always like to use Mississippi.
Ooh, that's crazy.
9.1% of blacks. Look at what we're doing there. Look at Georgia. Let's look at Arizona. These
ain't these Trump states?
These is Trump states.
Okay,
brother.
I thought I was a
Trump
little confused.
states.
Okay.
Look at this madness. Look at this.
Crazy.
They say they act like no black folks don't live in Arizona. They don't even know. They don't even know.
They don't got no records. Ain't nobody working out there.
Got no records. Let's go to West Virginia. We already showed that. Look at that. Blacks don't exist in West Virginia. See? That's crazy. Well, let's go where we know black folks live at. Let's look at Georgia, 5.3. Let's look at Alabama. We at the top of everything. So if everybody, look at Louisiana, 7.9. Look at that. So how is it?
Check Texas.
Let's look at Texas. Where's Texas? Let's look at Texas.
Yeah, right.
Let's look at Texas. Black. Come on now.
Man, that's crazy.
Look at the disparity.
These are Trump states. These are Trump states.
And peep how it's higher than even the Hispanic, which is largely Mexicans and
wow.
On, man.
Wow.
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
So when you look at that, this is another striking. I'm gonna stop this. I want to show one more real quick because you got to understand this, right? Because we out here fighting for justice, right? You got to understand this. This one little chart right here in Trump's America. Look, and like we supposed to be going to this Brexit. We supposed to leave out of here and go to the. We're supposed to be running to the Republican Party, right? But let's look at something real quick. We want to look at the incarceration rates. That's what I want to look at. Let's look at what does the color of justice look like around in these red states that they want us to go to. And you can pull it up. I'm ready.
Nobody.
Let's look at it. Oklahoma. Do I got to tell you if Oklahoma is Republican or Democrat or not? Is it a red or blue state? But we talking about a table of incarceration rates per 100,000 by race. So per 100,000, you got only 580 white folks. You got 2,625 black folks. Per one at Wisconsin. I don't got to tell you Wisconsin's Republican. Look, it don't even matter. And see, it don't even matter because I don't want to even frame this like I'm saying that the Democrats are so much better. I'm saying that we want an America that's going to do right. I'm not telling you that the Democrats are better than the Republicans or the Republicans are better than the Democrats. I'll get into the political logic on why it just makes more sense to side with the Democrats here in a minute. But what I'm telling you is I want an America that's going to do right. And playing this party politics is not the answer. This is the wrong answer. Look at Vermont, Bernie Sanders state. You all wanted to vote for Bernie Sanders. Look how many black folks going to jail in Bernie Sanders.
I ain't know we was up in Vermont. That's probably the whole population.
Look at that. Look at this. You look, it ain't even that many black folks in Iowa, and per 100,000 of us, 2,349 going is in prison.
Crazy.
Idaho, Oregon. Just look at this, the color of justice. If justice don't matter to you, I don't know, like that should be the basis of almost all your decision making. Where can I go and get the most justice? Look at these numbers, y'all. This is crazy. Alabama, all of this, all of these red states, Utah. You know, ain't no black folks in Utah, and you got 1,481 of us in jail per 100,000. So this is absolutely insane. And what they'll
say is, well, Trump he's letting some folks out of jail. He did the First Step Act and all that kind of stuff.
But then we can talk about. So I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that, Josh, because then we can talk about how they got to jail in the first place. So if the Republican Party has been so great, how did we forget that it was Reagan's administration and Reagan and Nixon who allowed crack to be flooded into the black communities? Antonio Moore did an excellent documentary called Freeway Crack in the System, where they detailed that greatly about the relationship the Ronald Reagan administration had with the Nicaraguan Contras, and how they had weapons for drug exchange going all through the black communities, and crack was just going crazy, and we still recovering from the crack era. But that was a Republican era. You understand? And that destroyed lives. And you wonder why, you got crack babies now you telling the people who grew up as crack babies to go back to the Republican Party, who was responsible for the crack, turning them into crack babies.
Some of them probably crack babies themselves. They got to jump out of the frying pan into the fire,
into the crack pipe. Jump out, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is crazy. You got to understand that.
All right.
I wanted to real quick. I wanted to, because we also got to look at the COVID numbers too. Let me break that down.
We're doing numbers tonight.
Let's go to the COVID numbers.
We're doing numbers
because right now COVID is, the racial wealth gap and our income and our economic disparities are going to always be, key in what we're talking about. But right now, this COVID thing is killing folks. I mean, it's killing all the conspiracies that people had in the beginning. After over 100-some thousand people passed away in a few short months, now all that's quieted down, and we've seen that we're the ones that are getting hit the hardest, ADOS people. So let's look at the states, the COVID states right now, where they have the most new cases coming in. Look, Louisiana, what is that, red or was that blue?
That's red.
Idaho, I honestly don't know.
Idaho, if I'm not mistaken, is red. All of them states are red.
Florida, Georgia, Nevada, Kansas, Tennessee. Okay, I think you got Delaware here. South Carolina, Mississippi, Alabama, New Mexico, Texas, California, Arizona. Like, so this is a failure of Trump. This is a failure. This is the people running behind, Trump's policy behind that, and which is a failure. So I don't understand how we can, let's look at this again. Just look at it. Percentage change versus 2 weeks ago, 202%. Louisiana.
Wow.
Florida, up 162, 8,587 new cases per day. That's what they're averaging this week.
Wow.
Crazy. And so, tell me how it makes sense jumping out of the frying pan and jumping into that type of fire. Like, why would we want to follow people who don't care about any type of research or good practices that we found to work or cut down on some of the cases, or using good common sense, which is wear a mask, social distance. Don't just open up and be all over top of people when it's a deadly pandemic going on. Things like that. Can y'all still see? Okay, let me unshare this now. All right.
Definitely.
And just don't think that we just going in on that we some Republicans we don't hold no punches on the Democrats neither.
Oh yeah, we went in on them.
Show, or we did on Obama. And we talked.
Right.
I see some stuff in the comments. We talked about Biden. We talked about the crime bills.
That's
we
right.
talked about the failure of the Obama campaign. We did that. But tonight, we on the Republicans.
That's right.
Yeah. And let me say this one more real quick. See, the point we're trying to get y'all to see, but some of y'all who might be on the fence, or you think you got to be binary. No, you need to be agenda based. The point we're trying to see is you better get on board with reparations, because they don't just to try to talk about something where you're going to empower super capital. Why would you be in favor to empower capitalists sums of wealth? And we just showed you the data that showed you don't control none of the wealth.
Like don't got no capital.
So why would that make any kind of sense?
Yeah, I'm gonna get to that too.
Need to be reparations.
I'm gonna get to their claims about this whole kumbaya, chipping our little nickels and pennies to create the greatest black wealth that the world has ever seen before. But Brother Ali, you want to add something to the?
Yeah, this is what I would add. If you're live on Facebook, I would say let's bring everybody over at this point. If you want to do that, that's what I would.
If you're on Facebook watching, please go to the YouTube chat. I mean, excuse me, to the YouTube channel. I'm gonna put that link in the inbox. And anybody want the link that want to argue some of the, not the inbox, excuse me. Anybody want the link? You know, maybe you could get a young Pharaoh on, or King Face, or somebody that represents black conservatism.
Hey, King Face was hurt when you. Bro, I wish you could have found that clip, man.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for, man. It looked like
he got fried,
a different video.
He was fried. I was like, he just got fried.
What did he look like, Josh? What his face look like?
Man, he was like,
it didn't look kingly.
What was his background? What was his background? He was like, what did he say? Y'all remember?
I was broken spirit though, because that stuff he was talking was nonsense.
Yeah.
And when one of us is in a building, and not necessarily one of us, but just when somebody brings facts to people like that, they can do nothing but tuck their tails. And this is why it's good that I kept that connection with what's called the conscious community, because you have guys like that coming in, then you got people like Polite backing them. These guys got channels and brands way larger than this, 30 times larger than this, So we got to make sure that we're in the mix. I don't care if 1,000 people are yelling out a lie. That don't make the one person standing there whispering the truth any less relevant. The person that's standing there whispering the truth is the most relevant person out of the crowd of 1,000 shouting out lies. Point blank, period. So, Ali, you wanted to go in, or?
Nah, I'm good, man. I'm just monitoring stuff. So you guys are doing great right now. What you gonna do with the Facebook feed?
I'm gonna in the Facebook feed, family. So if you're on, I put the link in. Come on over to the YouTube. Let me see. Come on over to the YouTube channel, family.
That's the good thing. You put there, God of Jacob. Yeah. When we look at these job numbers, a lot of that is the gig industry, service industry. So when they're talking about jobs are coming back, please, ain't no jobs coming back. They're talking about the people who they temporarily put back to work when they tried to open things back up. And I mean, you're talking about people who work in restaurants, people who work in, gigs playing, music at restaurants, or people, working these different types of little service jobs, working in the mall or something. They closing all of that stuff back down.
That's
so
right.
I mean, when the next set of job numbers come in, it's like, oh, we lost jobs. No, you didn't lose jobs. These are jobs that came back that people were having in a normal time. That wasn't a deadly pandemic time,
Right.
And because we've seen that all these cases we just showed you are going through the ceiling, new cases per day. 8,500 cases per day in Florida, on average in the past week.
And when they talk about jobs coming back real quick, the chart I showed was pre-COVID. I showed you we was already eating up the lion's share of unemployment before COVID. So we eating the lion's share of the COVID effect. Like if the jobs are coming back, who you think they're coming back to first? They ain't coming back to you. Come on now.
And I'm gonna
actually it's funny because go ahead, my bad.
Let me just add this. A lot of those jobs, like we were talking about earlier, a lot of those jobs are people picking up like Uber jobs. You know what I'm saying? Uber jobs, Lyft jobs, things like that, low paying jobs where, some of these restaurants or whatever have opened back up or what have you. So you got people picking up those kinds of jobs, so you're looking at a lot of that as well.
Let me add this too. It's funny because when we look at the employment disparities, actually, I want to say the employment in many places and maybe nationally, the gap between the unemployment levels between Black America and white America has actually decreased over the time of COVID. And of course, we know why, because, in the time of a deadly pandemic, other people may lose their job, but they say we're essential. So we still got to stay on the front line of facing a deadly virus to, kind of be the human sandbags or whatever, be on the front lines, working in the grocery stores, working at the, or whatever places that are on the front line, working at Amazon, UPS, the post office. They still need us to go to work to be on the front line of COVID. So we might have seen the unemployment levels dip, but that's probably one of the reasons why the COVID numbers have jumped with us.
Exactly. And like you're saying, just to reiterate that point, a lot of this is just people going back to work too. It's real simple. People going back to work.
Yo. So what Abaddon pulled up, what I got queued up. Now I want to pull out a warning. A lot of this stuff, especially for my ADOS heads in the chat, this is gonna make you lose your mind. This is some of the most silly. Like I'm not even. What? Just check it out. This is your man, young Pharaoh, attempting to. I'm gonna fast forward through some of it. I'm gonna play it again, and I'm gonna fast forward through some of it so y'all can just like skip around and just hear the insanity. And like this dude is supposed to be like the new hotness, and he's supposed to be the scholar. Yo, check out the nonsense, family. Check out this nonsense. This is supposed to be why we can't receive reparations. Check him out.
Peace, family. This video right here is about why Black people are wasting their time and why they will never get reparations ever from this government. Right? Now, y'all know how I do. I come with the unegotistical truth. You either accept it or not. Now, excuse me, with that being said, let's talk about reparations. Basically, you want to be paid for slavery and what your ancestors went through, right? Now, first of all, we're going to break down the historical and scientific facts of how you might have been a casualty of war, but you may not even be a descendant of a slave, first of all. And second of all, if reparations were to be given out, they will be given out on a very minute scale. Now, with that being said, let me break this down. Okay? Now, first of all, when you see Jews and you say, oh, the Jews, they got their reparations, they can all prove genetically that they were all in one area at the same time, going under the same tyranny historically, right? Now we're talking about Black people. Clearly, Black people don't all look the same. Unlike the stereo. Clearly, I don't look like Boko Haram, whatever his name is. I don't look like President Mugabe. Okay? That don't mean that we don't share the same or similar genes, but clearly we don't look the same. Just like white people over here clearly don't look like Russians. Okay? Irish people clearly don't look like Germans. So we have to understand genetics. So we can't keep arguing blind facts anymore. So we're talking about genetics, right? First of all, we want to kill Ancestry.com. We want to kill this because what they don't tell you is when they're tracing your ancestors, right? Every generation that you go back, your ancestry doubles in grandparents. Now, what they don't tell you is, like, let me give you an example, right? Right now, let's say I got 2 grandparents this lifetime. If I was to go back another generation to trace my DNA, it would be 4. So if you go back, damn near 20 generations to 100 generations, you win 100,000. You're on your way to the 100,000 to millions of potential ancestors that you could.
Now I'm just gonna pause real quick. None of that has anything to do with reparations. None of that has anything to do with reparations. Like everything he said from play to pause was absolute nonsense. but I'm gonna fast forward through some of this. But I just want this is the dude who thinks he can educate. Like he's emphatically telling us we can't get reparations, and this is why.
Ancestry.com only gives you 2 grandparents out of the hundreds of thousands, literally in the millions of ancestors that you have. It's a fact. Go look it up. They only give you 0.1% of your ancestors. So the people that they're linking you to may have sexually procreated to somebody who's responsible for your genetic descent, but it's not conclusive. So that being said, you don't know who the fuck your ancestors is completely. You only know 0.1 to 1%. So that being said, when we say we can prove who our ancestors are, you can do that genetically to a certain extent if you don't know history. So if somebody was to right now wipe history clean and say, here's all the haplogroups on the planet.
All right, now you're going into haplogroups. I just told you my great-grandmother's grandmother was born in 1834 on the Purdue plantation, and I ain't need Ancestry.com to do that. So what is young Pharaoh talking about? I got pictures of her children, who are like my great uncles and aunts and whatnot. What in the world is young Pharaoh talking about haplogroups for? Talking about establishing lineage for slavery. That's not.
Here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. Yvette said it. Yvette said it a number of times. It's called agents of chaos and confusion.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the end of the day, what he's trying to do is add complexities to something that's already been figured out. What these people don't realize is that this stuff has already been figured out, right? And so they're trying to create arguments just to really be argumentative. I don't see any other reason unless young Pharaoh himself is of immigrant background.
He has to be.
You know, I don't see any other reason to create such a fallacious argument. Or he's talking about haplogroups and your lineage doesn't have any. It doesn't have, ancestry doesn't have nothing to do with that. You don't have to go into anybody's genetics to figure out a line of descent. If I have a birth certificate with my parents' names on it, and they have birth certificates with their parents' names on it, and so forth, and then if it starts getting a little vague, going back towards 1870, you know.
Bingo.
Then you got to go into other kinds of records and stuff like that. It's not about genetics and DNA and all that. This just really goes to show that they don't really even understand what they're talking about. They're just talking to be argumentative.
Mm-hmm. So this is what happens when you get into the pseudo scholars and
hold up. Hold up real quick. I want to build on just show if you can pull up the screen. I don't know if y'all can see my screen. I just want to read this is EOS 101 /roadmap to reparation. So this is killing whatever he had to say right here. Like you don't have to get into all
I'm gonna even kill him. Well, as soon as you finish, I got something that's gonna kill him. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Y'all gonna really love the next part.
This is the criteria. Number 1, the individual have to provide reasonable documentation of at least one ancestor enslaved in the United States. And number 2, they will need to demonstrate they have identified as Black, African American, colored, Negro, or established legal documents at least 10 years prior to onset of the program. You know, no. In addition, we will add that at least one grandparent fulfilled both prongs of the criteria if the person is biracial. So we close that loop. But go ahead, y'all. I just wanted to add that.
Where in that did it say you have to establish some type of haplogroup or genealogy test needed to be done to establish lineage?
I would like to ask young Pharaoh. I would like to ask him, why do you think, or what makes you believe that knowing someone's DNA has anything to do with proving whether or not someone had a slave ancestor? Break that down. Make the connection. Because I don't understand what one thing has to do with the other.
He won't.
Nothing.
He won't. He
does like Abba said earlier. He's like Polite 2.0. He think if he can come and talk about a bunch of subjects that people aren't familiar with and make them real intelligent sounding. but you sound really, really crazy. You sound, I ain't gonna say you sound stupid. You sound crazy, like you need a check, and not a reparations check, but a psycho check, because you sound psychotic. So we don't need established genealogy. Like I said, that's the deranged ramblings of someone who's not connected to this lineage. Because I can just say and tell you, and you can tell he's not well read. He's not real educated on the reparations history. And like, who y'all, and this, I'm talking to the young folks, who y'all want to listen to? Y'all need to stop listening to young Pharaoh and get you some tone talks in your life. You need to stop listening to young Pharaoh and all these other nuts and King Face, and get you some Yvette Carnell in your life. You need to get you some Dr. Darity. You want to know the wealth data? You want to know the there's nobody better at reparations case building and case conversation than Dr. Darity. You understand? You need to get you some Dr. Darity in your life. Get that in your life.
And don't feel bad. Go back and get you some Dr. King too.
Come on now. See, I want to name some new names, because like these people have already been corrupted by the old talk. They think Malcolm X, even though he's probably the greatest man who walked in America in pursuit of justice for his people, but they've already been so thoroughly corrupted. I got to give them some new names. Get you some tone talks in your life. Get you some Darity in your life. Get you some Yvette Carnell. If you want to do black politics and you're not looking, I can just tell you right now, if you're not listening to Yvette Carnell and you're trying to do black politics, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong.
All right, so let's kill that real quick. I want to kill that, and y'all can look this word up, pseudologist. A pseudologist is one who traffics in pseudoisms. He's just absolutely pseudo. So on one of the shows, I can't remember which one, I showed y'all my mother's family tree going back to the times of slavery. Here's my father's side right here, starting with my father. And we go on up to my sweet old grandmother that's still living today. Shout out to my sweet old grandma. And both of my lines go all the way back up to South Carolina. You see, so like these are my great-great-grandfather and my great-great-grandmother right here. I mean, and I could go back down to my mother and open up that tree as well. Hold on.
How far? What year does it go? Does yours go back to? How far back does it go?
Mine goes back very early, to 18, to my father's. All right, right
there.
there.
Wall of 1870, I see.
Yeah, that's the wall. But then somebody contacted me and said that his father, James Wishway, which was my great-great-grandfather's father, my great-great-great-grandfather was Aaron Way. So, but I haven't been able to get too much information on him. And going through Ancestry.com, every time you get a new hit, they want you to pay to join the site, which is one of the reasons why we have to get this database going, because for free, so people could just log on and say, look, they could be proud of their American heritage. Some people don't know and they don't care to look, but I believe that we can help change the narrative if we could create a database that people can just plug into, go on the website for free and see their family. I think it will help shape the narrative along with some of the articles that we may have. But both sides of my family, I showed my father. This is my grandmother, Bessie. She died in 95. Her father, his name was Pearlie. Her mother name was Ida. His father and mother name was John Wishway. He married Crushy. You know, that's that 1870 wall right there. So I believe he may have been born around 1840. And then you get Aaron Way. I don't even know when he was born, but I got the information from someone who contacted me and said that James Wishway, we shared, her husband shared him in her family tree. And this, we want to create this nexus to show people that this thing is real. It can be done. People like young Pharaoh are fools. They're fools. And what they're giving you all is fool's gold. It's gold painted plastic. It has no intrinsic value. It looks like a gold thing. You know, you put the Reese's Pieces wrappers in your mouth back in the days to make the gold teeth and the aluminum foil. You know, like that's what these guys are offering. And I guess that looks good. How that old cliche, gold. I don't even know if it's I don't even know.
Everything glitters ain't gold.
But that too. But in the land of the blind, the man with one eye is king, and that's what we're dealing with right now. That stuff that Pharaoh was talking about with the DNA and the haplogroups, and it's just gobbledygook that he knows is going to rile up his base, who are largely ignorant. And I don't say that to diss his base. They don't know any better. Yeah. But they will come across this video and they'll see the difference.
I want to just share mine. I mean, since we sharing lineage and ancestry and all that, I got a powerful. Y'all know I shared on the last show. I had a death in the family, and unfortunately, with the COVID, we weren't able to have the proper funeral service how we like to have for, closure and healing and all of that. But one thing that came out of it was I got to spend some time with one particular family member who pulled out a scroll in that she had written down from our great ancestor and broke down the family history. And it was very revealing, because when he said something talking about, look at me, I look different than somebody from, than Robert Mugabe and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, yeah, I mean.
He said Boko Haram, which is a terrorist organization, and that's not even a person. That's a terrorist organization.
Come on. You don't know
like, what is this dude talking about? How do you follow this guy? Like, him, Dane Calloway, like all of these people. But we gonna get to Dane Calloway another time with that Aboriginal indigenous nonsense. This is of utmost import, because they're stepping into a political space that is trying to bring us out of the frying pan into the fire. At the end of the day, we've been voting Democrat for the last, 60, 70 years, something like that. And they've made promise after promise, and they haven't come through. And so we have to put that pressure upon the Democratic Party, because the Republicans are not going to give us reparations. Mitch McConnell already said it. So now you get these quote unquote black proxy agents to go in front of the people and say, y'all don't need reparations, or what y'all going to do with reparations, because he says that in that video. He says that. And I'm going to get into that.
Do with it? The heck, what kind of question is that? What you going to do with it?
That's what he said. What you going to do with it when you get it, or something to that?
Oh, man.
Yeah, I know what my lineage, man. It's interesting because when he brought that up, talking about he's not Boko Haram, he's not Robert Mugabe, he don't look like them. Yeah, dude, because you got slave master rape in your ancestry, most likely. You're an amalgamation of so many different tribes. You don't come from just like one region or something. You talking about all the ancestors was rounded up, was brought over here, was bred together. Not only were we bred together, not only did we have slave master rape from Europeans, from various European nations, we also had slave master rape from various Native Americans, possibly.
That's right.
That kind of stuff is going on. So we're in a unique amalgam of people. So yeah, you're not going to look like Robert Mugabe. We're a unique amalgam of people over here. But and just to speak to a firsthand account of that, in that scroll, I noticed in one of my lines, I had a great ancestor who both him and his wife had two different Confederates in their ancestry, Confederate slaveholders who were like father and son. Like we had it on multiple sides. So like these people were just having their way with the women, and then you didn't know who was who. You on the plantation, they on the plantation, you end up getting together. Who knows? Like you're in the same city and area, and that stuff happens. So I look at my lineage, I'm like, damn, and then I also got to cope with the fact that, my people went through this, and I had an ancestor who was a Confederate colonel who signed a ordinance to secede from the nation, for Virginia to secede from the Union, who had 3 slaves escape and was the first ever contrabands of war in the Civil War. And to look and see that in my ancestry and understand that this guy was a huge plantation owner and his property was stripped. And, after the war, But then Andrew Johnson gave him all his property back, restored his status. And my people probably, if anything, were able to keep a chunk of the land that we were supposed to get for reparations when he spoke. So when we look at these things, you're trying to tell me I don't supposed to get reparations. My people went through all of this and the government said we were supposed to get reparations, but they killed Lincoln. Andrew Johnson got power. He gave them all that stuff back that was supposed to come to us. Now, my great grandfather was a tobacco farmer. He got some of that land. He produced that tobacco, ended up selling to Philip Morris. Now, what would happen if he'd have got all of that land we were supposed to get? And he inherited that, right? Where will we be at today? We wouldn't be where the middle black family, I'm talking about it collectively. I know my family, the middle black family definitely wouldn't be worth 1,700. And so build on the conversation Yvette was having on her show, y'all should not be talking anything that's not about reparations, because the middle family income or the middle family wealth is supposed to be elite, period. It's supposed to be at what white people or above. It's supposed to be above, because we were supposed to have been paid whole, we made elite, and a lot of those Confederates were supposed to have been out of there. Like you get back into the Union through some amendment. You don't get all your stuff back, but that's what happened. That's the supreme injustice. And just because that injustice was not spoken to even till today does not mean it's just forgotten. No, like that needs to be rectified. And if you are not finna rectify, if you're not finna be on board with rectifying it, you just declared yourself an enemy to your own people.
Facts. Let me know, did you want to play any more of that young Pharaoh crap with Logic?
It was really, I did. So I'm just gonna narrate because his voice is even irritating to me, man. It's just, but so basically, what he concluded, what he was getting at, is that basically we're Indians. That's what I listened to it. I stomached to it once. It's real hard to do it again. I don't want to put y'all through that trauma. And basically what young Pharaoh was trying to say is that we're Indians, and what we're supposed to be doing is fighting for casinos and land, and understanding that we supposed to be getting what the Indians got back, and that's what we supposed to be fighting for, is what they should fighting for, because we Indians. And if we into our haplogroups and our genetics, we'll understand that we might not even been slaves. We was prisoners of war, and we just got our stuff took from us and all this other kind of goofy stuff. So I just want young Pharaoh to know, like, all right, know that, if you want to be an Indian and all of that stuff, that's fine. Stay out of the reparations conversation. Because if you have not read From Here to Equality by Dr. Darity, if you haven't been on the ADOS 101 website and read Roadmap to Reparations, if you haven't looked at you don't know enough. And the whole point of this conversation is to just really expose and to have a discussion about how these so-called Black Republicans avoid. So we spent almost an hour going through wealth data and incarceration data and poverty data. When you listen to these Republicans or these so-called Black Republicans talk, they don't like to talk to you about the numbers. They like to do a lot of anecdotal, a lot of feel-good, emotional, like rhetoric to get you on some moral type. We need to do this. They like to lie, and they just invent lies. Like young Pharaoh said, the Black folks created the Republican Party. He just made that up. He just literally made that.
It's a bunch of them saying that.
Because they'll repeat a lot.
He made it up, but I don't know where that's coming from.
Hey, how many followers does this dude have?
Oh, young Pharaoh got a lot of followers, man. That dude is lit. I ain't gonna lie.
That's the problem.
That's the problem. If we could pull our people out of this fantastic stuff. Let me tell y'all, man. I woke up this morning, and I like to think of myself as a religious person. Right? I was never religious until I got older. And I woke up and I could feel my higher self vibrating this morning. My lessons teach us different about who Allah is, right? We teach that Allah is the highest self within you. Nothing escapes Allah because you can't hide from yourself. And that's one of my core interpretations of it. So woke up thinking about them 4 children that was shot over the weekend, just through violence that's increasing in our neighborhoods, something that Farrakhan failed to speak about during his address. And I felt my spirit like speaking to me, like, we got to get something done on the spiritual level. I mean, we had the Nation of Islam, we had the Moorish Science Temple of America, we had the 5 Percenters, and for what it was worth, it gave us this. It helped in a sense. It helped because if you had a bunch of 5 Percenters, a lot of them started to fall off from the violent life of the gangs. And my pops could break that down to you. He was one of Father Allah's. He wasn't in the firstborn, but he was, from the time he was 12 years old, he was up under Father Allah, which was the founder of the 5 Percenters. So I'm not saying it killed the violence, but it calmed it so much. We don't have that now. We got dudes that's running around and all they do is this religion. And, you know, maybe some of these religious sects or whatever deserve it, but that's missing from, and this is my opinion, that's missing from what's going on right now. You remove the religious aspect, whether it's the church, whether it's the temple or the mosque, and we get, if I could use a religious term, sin and debauchery at its highest levels. Now you remove the police. My pops would tell you the story about during the the Martin Luther King Jr. riots in New York City. It was the 5 Percenters that helped quell a lot of the damage that would have happened like other cities. The 5 Percenters went out there and stopped people from like destroying the whole city. And Mayor Daley, I believe that's what his name was.
I think it was Daley.
Mayor Daley was the mayor. Father Allah, the head of the 5 Percenters, put the universal flag, as it's called, the pin on the chest of Mayor Daley. To, you know, that's when he made the statement, "I'm not pro-black or anti-white." If I'm not mistaken, if my memory serves me correctly, it's been a while since I've heard some of these accounts, but about when he said that particular phrase, I can't remember if he said it at that moment, but that's missing right now. And you got cats like Young Pharaoh. His whole platform is dedicated to spreading the most nonsensical conspiracy theories, like George Floyd was a psyops operation, which is what's being spread by the white supremacist Confederate flag. Where, matter of fact, there's a picture, I was trying to find it, of this dude, Young Pharaoh, that somebody drew, and like the other guy was walking and holding a Confederate flag, and I don't know what the flag Young Pharaoh was holding. I ain't see it in a minute. I just
never mind.
Was it an RBG flag? Nah, I can't remember, but
I was going to say a different kind of flag, but I said I'm not going to say.
Yeah, pride. Probably has some pride in it.
I'm not going to say.
Dr. Lely said he put a video on BTP. His ego is that huge. We invite him to. Matter of fact, we invite Young Pharaoh to come on the next show. But will he extend the courtesy so that we could fillet and then cook this dude on every single side? He wouldn't do it. He wouldn't dare allow himself to be in a position to be embarrassed. So he'll do a debate with the Polite or Reza Islam, because those guys are in his intellectual tax bracket. We're not. I'm not trying to boast or brag or anything like that, but I know myself, I know my team, and I know them guys. They speak a bunch of fantastical nonsense that it's taking our people backwards. Like I said on the last show, what Tupac said when he was talking about the 5 Percenters, he said, well, if you God, then open these cells so we could get up out of here. Let's walk up out of here.
And then a lot of the problem with these pseudo guys is they don't have no background in nothing but talking. And so we dealing with people with real backgrounds. You can't, and that's why I'm real protective of this political space, because I got years in the game. If you don't get to come and talk black politics and try to be a voice and tell folks what they should do politically when you don't have no political work under your belt. You ain't never even been a poll watcher. So you don't get to tell black folks black votes don't count if you ain't never counted them. You ain't never been a ballot counter. I've been at the ballot box, I've counted ballots. I've been a poll watcher, I watched the polls and made sure that there wasn't going to be any type of voter fraud. I was there. I did that. I worked on campaigns. I ran for office. I was elected to office. I know that the vote counts. I understand. I did the work. I talked to the senators. I went to the committees. I wrote original legislation. So you don't get to tell me what works and what don't work when you ain't done no work yourself. I don't want to hear that pseudo stuff. You get to sit on your computer, you get high, you go get your loud, you get real high, and then you get on your laptop or whatever you streaming from, and you just say stuff. You invent lies, you talk real fast, and you say a lot of stuff that people aren't going to do the research for, and they think that that's the move. That's not the move. We're here to tell you, if you want to do something right, this is how you do it. We're not doing none of that goofy stuff that young Pharaoh is doing. Angela Stanton, see, people are in it for their sales. Angela Stanton, I think me and Abba talked about it, and a lot of these people, right, they wear the face of sincerity well, but hidden deep within their breast is the heart of a hypocrite. You understand? Because they'll tell you, like, this is the moral issue, but they're into it for the financial issue. So instead of coming and being open about the economics and of the politics that they're doing in private, that they won't talk about publicly, they'll be coming out of, like the sister Angela Stanton came from jail, and now she's working with the Republicans and she's hopping on private jets. So I understand that. I get you. I got it. You got your red bag, but don't come and try to fool the people. And if you understand that this, if you're going to do black politics, there's only one black agenda, whether you on the right or you on the left, and that's reparations. So if you go, this is America. You can be on the right if you want to, but if you need to be on the right talking about reparations, you can be on the left if you want to. But you need to be on the left talking about reparations. There's only one agenda for black folks because it don't matter. The wealth don't care if you're Republican. The wealth ain't gonna be like, oh, let's jump on him. He's Republican. Let's just go and let him access capital, and let's go ahead and economically energize this person because they're Republicans. That's not gonna happen. We need policy that's gonna work for black folks. That's specific for black folks. And when I say black folks, I'm talking about American descendants of slavery.
That's right.
I mean, we could play a clip of Angela Stanton if y'all want to as well.
Yeah, play it.
Let's get her on here because she's smart. That's how I know what she's doing is intentional, because you can't be that smart and then try to tell me you don't know what you're doing. You know what you're doing.
All right, I lost my marking. Okay, there we go. There we go. Hold on. Let's play a little bit of Angela Stanton. Like I said, I like Angela Stanton, y'all. But when you towing that Republican line, like there's certain things that I got to question. What she did to the Breakfast Club again.
That was dope.
Oh, I loved it.
That was dope.
Stomped on Angela Yee. I was like, oh.
I particularly loved how she responded to Angela Yee's nonsense. That was beautiful.
That was beautiful. All right, so let's share a little bit of Sister Angela Stanton. All right, let's go.
Reparations.
I'm not against reparations. However, I do have an issue with us continuing to be dependent on the government. See, what we're seeing right now, all of these businesses being closed, all of us being forced to stay in the house while the economy crashes and we lose our businesses, is forcing us to be back dependent on the government. We'll never be free as long as we're dependent on a government. Y'all know this. Come on, man. It's too many of us that have made it now to know this. We need money. We need power. We need our own banks. We need our own schools. We need our own communities. We need to be free. Why does every other ethnicity have that but us?
Yo.
Some black people because a lot of our counterparts have had generational wealth, meaning that they were born into money. Many of us were not. Because of my own personal situation, I know that it's hard to make nothing out of nothing, right? Some point, in some type of way, you need a jump start. You understand? So I'm not against it, but I definitely would want us to be responsible with it. I would want it to come with some type of underlining factors like, financial literacy or entrepreneurship or investing. I would want it to be something that puts us on another level and not just something that we just go and blow off.
Okay, so
God.
yeah.
How about you read Dr. Darity's book, sister, and you'll understand the pure reparations plan. It has all of that outlined so detailed. Everything that you're talking about is already in it. Like, where have you been at? How do you get to come out and talk so loudly about reparations and you don't even know the work that's been done? You talk about stuff that's already been mastered. Pay attention.
That's the thing, bro. Like, a lot of these people who are commenting on this are people who have not even taken the time to look at the website, let alone Darity's extensive work. They're not even going to the 101.com website to see how this thing is laid out. So they're just talking because a lot of them are just against it, or their ideas of what they think it is. They're against their own ideas of it, which is crazy because they don't even know what it is, but they have an idea in their mind what they think it is, and then they're against it. Like, they're really fighting with themselves.
That's what they're doing. You don't get to say stuff like, we don't need to be dependent on the government. We built the government so that we could depend on it. But we have a government for it. Why would we have a government that we can't depend on? What kind of sense does that make?
Now the sister, let me jump in real quick, and then Logic, I'm gonna pull up your screen, and then Josh, we're gonna get to what you have pulled up. But
I got that young Pharaoh.
Oh, that's what that is. All right, cool. We're gonna get to that. Man, I couldn't find that.
Hey, pull his up first. I'll wait.
Okay, okay. Now, Angela Stanton King. She got the King because she was adopted by MLK's family, right? So what we want to do is we want to give our sister a reminder, because she spoke about government dependency, which is what we talked about earlier. My brother Dr. Logic eloquently broke down what conservatism basically is. It is about limited government so that states could be in control of and do whatever it is that they basically want to do, which back in the days was keep us in slavery. So we're going to let Dr. King school our sister, Dr. Angela Stanton, real quick. Wait, I got to go back because I forgot to hit the share audio. But let's let Dr. King school our sister real quick so she could understand that what she's saying, it doesn't comport and match up with what King is saying. Let's go.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farm. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with. And this is a reality. Now, when we come to Washington in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
Mic drop.
Coming to get our check. That's
Mic
right.
drop. We're coming to get our check. So, Sister Angela Stanton King, if you're watching, and we follow each other on Instagram, and we've had some volleys already. So I believe she's watching. Look, I mean, if you're not doing ADOS politics and you ADOS, then I don't understand what you're doing. I love the message that you're talking about the Democrats trying to get us to create genocide. I'm against abortion. I'm gonna put it out there. I am 100% against abortion. Our numbers are going down. For every one of our babies born since 1973, one was aborted in the city of New York. Forget just the state. There are years going back to 2013 where there were more ADOS abortions than there were live births. And I'm just saying ADOS. We don't know if those numbers are you know, this new word we learned, disaggregated. Yeah, right. But what we do know is that the majority of the abortions that happened, like in my neighborhood, they was all damn near ADOS, the people that I knew growing up with. So I can just guess that this is an extension of what was started in 1973. So yeah, you know, we love that. But your politics and the things that you're promoting with Trump and Trumpism, we know that he cleared your slate or whatever. We, you know, loyalty is something. We respect loyalty, but when you start jumbling up the message with this, you know, even with what you said about reparations and about relying on government, you can't be for reparations and then say, but I'm tired of us relying on government. Reparations can only come from government. Exactly. Who were the Japanese Americans that were sitting around saying the same things that you were saying, or anybody that's against reparations? So we just had to play that. And anybody wanted to speak to that?
Yeah, let me say this. I do. Because I want to understand, because she said one thing, and I've heard it said by many people. They all say this, and these do for selfers. We just need black banks. We need black banks. What are you gonna do with a black bank when you don't have black people with black capital? That does not make any kind of sense. And understand, if you want black banks, the government needs to be behind that, because you don't get to have a history where you created state banks and private banks in Mississippi and South Carolina and Louisiana based on slave-backed securities that created a bond system of millions and millions of dollars that propped up these states, that our people was literally being mortgaged out. You don't get to have a history of a breeding institution where you was breeding our people and moving them like currency, moving our bodies around like currency.
The mortgage on our back securities.
Mortgage on our back securities. You don't get to have that and tell me I need to pull my money together that I don't have to create some type of black bank. You don't get to have the Freedmen's Bureau and the Freedmen's Bank being overthrown, the money being stole, and the people being murdered and killed and torn down, and tell me I need to build my own bank. No, I already built the country through the lineage that I come from. I need justice. What you need to be talking about in this public space. See, you don't get to run for the congressional 5th district in Georgia and say that you're against reparations. You don't get to say and parade around, oh, I came out of jail and was adopted by the King family, and you don't got King type of politics. You don't get to do that. I'm not going to let you do that. You know what I'm saying? So you need to get right if you're going to be a voice for black folks. You don't know, all black folks is on notice. You don't get to be in no political space and be anti-reparations and talk that bootstrap garbage. We're not having it. Reparations is a debt that's owed to our ancestors, and we're going to get it, period.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, Josh. What you was going to do?
No, so I'm just trying to say, like, we going in, right? We going in on y'all. I mean, we're supposed to. We're doing our
image. Yeah.
It wasn't a Confederate flag. Okay.
Yes, it is. Look at the dude.
Yeah, look at his hat. Look at his hat.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I guess it got MAGA on the front.
He walking down the street holding hands with a dude with Confederate with the Confederate hat on.
Yo, what in the world is going on
I
here?
guess that's Malcolm on the shirt.
What my man Tony Baker, the comedy that do the animal voiceover, say, what in the haberdasheries and hemoglobins is going on here? What is this? What? Man, these people is bugged out, man. These people are bugged out, yo. But we here.
I wanted to say we going in on y'all, and we're supposed to. We're doing our job. See, I guess the job that you think you're signed up for is to get us to come over there because that's advantageous to you personally, not advantageous to our people, and that's going to be advantageous to those who put you on that platform. But we're doing our job, which is we're cleaning you up so that your propaganda, your misinformation is not damaging our people. Like we said, putting us into the fire. We're not trying to be in the frying pan or the fire. Like we're trying to get our situation right.
With the other chefs cooking up policies and policy prescriptions to the things that ail our neighborhoods. And come on.
We're trying to be at the table, not on the menu. So y'all trying to put us on the menu. You just have different recipes by how you cooking this up. That's not what we're trying to do. So we're doing our job. Don't take this stuff personal. We got to go at you because we're doing our job. Just like you're trying to do your job for somebody else. We're doing our job for our people. So we're trying to bring you back to where we are, where we're supposed to be, and where you're supposed to be advocating. You're supposed to be advocating just like we advocate. What's the problem? Why can't you do that? I know it don't pay the bills. It may not pay the bills like that, but I'm gonna say this, and I always say this. Your ceiling will always be lower until our floor gets raised to where it's supposed to be at. And that comes through reparations.
Now, somebody just said that Pharaoh says he wants reparations.
Oh, yeah, I meant to address that. My bad, Lawrence. Go ahead, Ali.
Maybe he's changed his position. I mean, I've seen people changing their positions on it. Remember, we saw an attorney who was against it.
Yeah.
Now it's talking like she's with it, but
yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe he changed. Maybe he had a change of heart. Who knows?
I don't know what he had, but if you don't get your politics right, you don't get this work. So you can flip flop with your heart, but don't flip flop with your politics. And this is why it's important to read and understand before you get to talking all crazy to your 55,000 or your 2 million followers. You don't know nothing. You need to be quiet until you've done enough studying to come out and really talk to the public like that. Because you was talking real confident and real reckless and talking about you as an expert, you breaking it down less scientifically and historically. You was all right. Yeah, how you gonna jump back and be for reparations now? You don't get to play hokey pokey politics. I don't do that. And then we have to understand, like the brother said, it's not personal, but this is politics. I've been a politician. And if you can't take this type of heat, you ain't built for this. This ain't personal. This is politics.
It's politics.
This is how it is. This is how it is.
You know?
Yeah, I want to say as far as addressing that one thing that the brother Lawrence actually said.
Hold on. Let Josh say what he's saying first, and then
my bad.
No, I was just pulling it up while we talk, like just so people could see that ADOS ancestry standing over us while.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that was your ancestor.
Huh?
Yeah,
that was your ancestor.
That's my ancestors, right?
That's
there.
your ancestor. Oh, okay.
Yeah, since we pulling up ancestry, right? Man. See, this is what Pharaoh don't understand, and I don't know if young Pharaoh is an orphan, and if he is, that's tragic. I don't know if he's an orphan and he don't know his people, but people like to act like ADOS don't got no family. Like we out here just a bunch of orphans. We don't got no family. Listen, like this is some personal stuff I'm sharing with y'all. This is stuff that my mom sent me, right? Because we doing history and lineage in our own family. This is what everybody can do. So this is technical. She was like, she was a slave. She is my dad's great grandmother, my great grandmother, right? This is my mom's great grandmother who was a slave. So what are you talking to me about? She was born in 1834 as a slave. So what are you talking to me about? Millions of years ago and having to go through all these I don't have to go to Ancestry.com. It's my ancestors right here who was born a slave. You know who I went to? I went to my mom. So if you go to your family, that's how you get in touch with your lineage. These are my ancestors that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about pharaohs. Look at this. These are her children. You understand? These are my ancestors. Like this is like real ADOSness right here. Like look, this is straight out from the first generation out of slavery children. This is what they look like. These are my ancestors on my mother's side. Straight out of the Purdue plantation in Georgia. These are my ancestors. You understand? These are her children that you're looking at right here. Look at the date. This is a picture she took in 1874. But she was born in 1834. This is a picture she took a few decades later. This is a lineage line that we're looking at. 4 generations. This is on her father. This is on my mother's father's side. We're looking at 4 generations. You understand what I'm saying? So we all you gotta do is get with your family, people. Like you don't have to listen to these people who want to pretend to be smarter than what they are. Like he can't show you no degrees like Dr. Dirty can. He can't show you no degrees like Yvette can. He can't show you no degrees like Tone Talks can, but he want to talk to you like he got a PhD, like he got a master's, and he got all this type of science and knowledge, but he ain't been to school. He don't know enough. That's why he don't know. You don't have to go to Ancestry.com. You just go to your mom. You know what I'm saying? Go to your grandfather.
One of our mods, one of our mods, I'm gonna put it up on the screen.
Of us
says, but Logic, I have to give pushback. There are a lot of us that are orphans and or don't know their family.
That's facts. And understand this. That's why we are, and we have, honest to Brother Abba, we have created an institution called the United Sons and Daughters of the Freedmen, who gonna do that work to help you restore that lost lineage.
And people
on a large part, we do have families, and I'm not disrespecting nobody who has been in wards of the state and who has been displaced from their family. I'm not disrespecting that at all. I know a lot of people that's like that. What I'm saying is that's not the story for all of us, and it don't take magic and wizardry to connect these lines. We can do the work for you. We can help you. There's ways to find that lost lineage. And let us work for you free of charge. We're not charging nobody to do that. We can help mend them broken wires.
Lawrence Atkins, what about the deep state and Pizzagate? Is that real? Look, that stuff is bogus to me. I'm sorry.
That's not what we talk. That's not what we talking about.
It's just I don't know why they just keep out. We talking about reparations.
Yo,
about black conservatives, and you can't be a black conservative. It's impossible. It's absolutely impossible.
See, this is what I'm talking about. We talk about reparations, and you want to talk about Pizzagate. What are we doing? What are we doing, man?
I want to say to that, like that, when you want to talk about these type of things, this is the stuff you get to talk about when you got 100 trillion, when your group has its proportion or higher than the proportion of its population in wealth. When your group only has, when you're 13-14% of the population, 12, 13, whatever it is, and you only got 2% of the wealth, or 3% or whatever it is right now, we know it's way less than what it's supposed to be at. You don't get to talk about deep state and all that. You get to stay focused on making us whole, on closing that wealth gap. You get to talk about addressing our issues. Like we're talking about deep state and all this kind of stuff like that. That's stuff that's not for us to talk about. Like that's not what we need to waste our social capital, political capital, none of that stuff. We don't need to waste none time on that. That's what you can do after you get reparations. Then you can like spend all your time and energy on these frivolous things. Like that has nothing to do with us. That's not affecting us. That's not on our priority list. Like
that's right, frivolous stuff.
You want to know what the deep state look like? Hold on. This is what the deep state look like. This is what the deep state looks like. That's the deep state right there. That's it right there. So, I mean, look, we passed the 2-hour mark.
Yeah.
I think we touched on. I mean, it was still. I had a whole thing that I really wanted to get into, but I didn't.
Just go over real quick. Just drop it real quick.
All right. So look. All right. Let me do that. Right. Let me do that. Window, where are you? Okay, so let's do this real quick. And the only problem with doing it like this is I cannot see the live stream, but it's all good. This is what we're gonna do.
What you got up? We see what you have up. So
can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. This is from Neiman Lab. It's an article that says a Howard project is debunking myths about African Americans and teaching students fact checking. It says there are more black men in prison than college. $1 spent in the black community stays there for only 6 hours. A project at Howard University aims to dispel oft-repeated myths. Now, of course, we're going to give shout outs to where we get this information from. We get this information from Yvette and Tone breaking this stuff down. So this is some of the myths. There are more black men in prison than college, and $1 spent in the black community stays there for only 6 hours, right? So let's get to it. The claim that $1 circulates in the black community for only 6 hours cannot be substantiated. The federal government does not produce data that would allow such a comparison. In addition, economists contacted by truthbetold.news said some of the data cited, such as information about dollars circulating in the Jewish community, is questionable because the federal government does not collect information by religion, and researchers would be unable to get the information accurately from a survey of consumers. Which basically means they would have to go ask the consumers, what are you spending this on, and what are you spending that on, and how much are you spending this and that on? It continues. The earliest source of this statistic appears to be a book that is nearly 20 years old. We believe that to be Claude Anderson's book. We believe that, right? It says the book also never mentions the name of the study nor provides any information about the author. All right, so now let's get into the Black Agenda report by Jared Bell, published in 2009, The Myth of Black Buying Power. Like, we got to dispel this myth that everybody can chip their money in, put their money into this large pot or the susu, because they got that going around right now. They got people trying to put $500 into a susu. I'm like, I'm not putting my money into that. I don't know where that's going. But anyway, let's read. It says, the immense, quote unquote, buying power of African Americans, we are told again and again, makes us a huge economic power. So harnessing this power by changing the consuming habits of Black America, the story goes, is an essential prerequisite for Black uplift. We've all heard it many times from the screen, from the pulpit, and elsewhere. But is any of it true? Does this popular understanding confuse Black income and even Black debt with Black wealth? Where does this misinformation come from? And does the emphasis on quote unquote buying power as agency denigrate collective action in favor of lifestyle activism? Dr. Ball opens the door on this vital discussion. So I'm going to read, I'm gonna just get through this. What I'm going to ask is, you know, we got some brothers, a shout out to my brother Nick, to make like a separate video out of this part, and we'll, you know, cut and screw and chop it up and retitle it, because I think that this is vital for people to hear and to understand. Okay, so it goes on. The myth of Black buying power. Achieving economic clarity is a bit more difficult than it would appear. The myth of Black buying power resurfaced yet again in February as more news was released from African American / Black Market Profile, AABMP. The myth, now updated, projects that this spending power will reach $1 trillion by 2011. This mythology of an African America whose national economic strength rivals that of most countries is consistently misunderstood, improperly quoted, and ultimately used to deny the outrageous inequality and exploitation this country still requires to maintain itself as the single superpower / empire. That's just a powerful line. First and foremost, the initial report cited needs to be understood for what it is. The market profiles gather and synthesize the most recent findings from dozens of sources in order to help marketeers communicate more effectively with these important consumer segments. And he adds emphasis on to help marketeers communicate more effectively. It continues. So these numbers are floated not for their accuracy regarding Black people's economic standing, but for their ability to tell which corporations should more aggressively target their marketing, psychological warfare, towards African America to get what little money actually is held there. It is also important to note that quote unquote buying power is a confused phrase in that it, again, says nothing of a wealth Black people have little of, but also suggests that this quote unquote power is or can be community uplift. The fact again that this is target marketing material means that by quote unquote power, they mean the ability to generate money for corporations to whom this spending will be geared. Wow. It does not mean that Black America has some untapped economic strength that can be marshaled to buy that which increases wealth, land, stocks, etc., and speaks to the basics of colonial exploitation. That is, the colonized are left only to purchase trifling gadgets and trinkets, quote unquote, footwear and clothes, as opposed to land, stock, and other capital, most of which is sequestered among the tiniest elite minority. Watch the brother Tone break down that data that shows that the top 10% of our group, our race, using that term, holds 75% of the wealth. So when he says, which is sequestered amongst the tiniest elite minority, this is what he's talking about. It continues. And finally, it is sadly laughable that too many of us are fooled into thinking our power is squandered by poor purchasing habits. Again, since this is all to which we have access anyway. The idea that land and stock is there waiting, but we'd rather go to the mall for trinkets results from mass capitalists, white supremacist propaganda, which too many of us have imbibed. So, you know, I had put my little cutoff point there because I was debating and I was trying to keep within the time constraints. So I'm not going to read the rest of that.
That's a lot.
It is a lot, but I'm gonna get to this part. He says, Black people have no money. We spend on credit and loans.
Thank you.
None of which is considered for either of these studies that he had previously mentioned. He says, so as to project the power that we in fact are far from having. Rarely does anyone have in their pocket or account the $20,000 for a car or $30,000 and way up for 1 year of college. We take loans for these and other purchases, which then count towards our quote unquote spending power. The debt we fall into this way and others, i.e. credit cards, is counted as a positive by those to whom our pockets are perpetually emptied. But this is not and could never be power.
Wow.
I just thought that was a
man, that article right there is something that everybody needs to read. All of the Black lift yourself up by your bootstraps, all of those people, man, everybody needs to read this because for whatever the reason, even the people with the susus, because the people with the susus are under the same idea. It's just they feel like this is a way to, man, everybody needs to read that article, bro. That's all I'm saying.
So
it's so interesting because they talk about power and they say, you know, the power of the Black dollar and the Black spending power. But then power is relative, right? And you have to compare that power to the other power that's around. So when you can start comparing that power, so if you look at that power among itself and be like, wow, that's powerful. But then when you start comparing that power and measuring that power up against something else, that power starts to seem insignificant or weak. So if you look at the spending power of, let's say, white folks, what is the spending power of white folks? They never talk about white folks' spending power. You think they don't buy things? You think they don't have spend? So our spending, their ability to purchase and spend dwarfs our ability because they have all of the wealth. They have all of the liquid. They have all of the capital and the access to it. So, and when they run out of it, they get the first access to the loans before we do. So what are you talking about, this spending power, when every other group almost can outspend you?
That's
what are we talking
about? An important factor to note in that regard is purchasing is not power. Production is power. The ability to produce products for consumers is power. And we have no little to zero ownership in that category.
Yeah. I mean, when
if you look at our billionaires, look at the billionaires. Like Kanye West is a great example. We just talked about him getting the PPP. What you need that for, bro? Like what if you're a billionaire and how many people do you employ? You employ 100 people? He said it saved like 106 jobs or something like that. You employ that? Yeah. So I mean, and this is not knocking Kanye West on that end. What we're trying to identify is you don't own anything on the production level of Adidas. And that's why you did the deal with Adidas. I mean, you made that gripe on the Sway show. That's why, what did he say to Sway?
Yo,
you don't have the answer.
Yeah, you don't have the answers. ADOS got the answers though.
We got the answers, Sway.
Yeah.
Right. So this is from the censusreporter.org. It shows aggregate income in the past 12 months in 2018, inflation adjusted dollars for the population 15 years and over. So they're starting at the age of 15 for this report. If you just did working adults, right, 18 years and older, who knows where this number goes? But let's look at it. Aggregate income in the past 12 months in 2018 it shows for our people was 969 billion 823, basically 970 billion dollars. So this idea that we have $1 trillion of spending or 1.3 trillion or 2 trillion or 3 trillion are largely exaggerated numbers. They're largely exaggerated. This is aggregate income. Now, my rent is $800 a month. Let's just add a car note, $400. So if I add rent at 800 times 12, what we get, 9,600. If I add $400 a month at 12, I mean, what do we get? 7, 8. I can't even think of it right now. But that just, we're going to get to that. Hold on. Let's get to that. Let's break that down by population, right? And I jumped ahead of myself. So what I did was I multiplied. That was the wrong table. Hold on. That was the wrong table. I got to get to it. Hold on. All right, this is what I did. I multiplied the 45 million of our people, right? So it said that our population, now this is including even the immigrants. This is not anything disaggregated. This is inclusive. If you multiplied that 970 billion by 45 million of us, this is what you get right here. Roughly, if you
divide
it, you basically get $22,000 per person. If I'm paying $9,600 alone in rent, I did the math earlier. I can't remember what it left me with was $7,000 out of this 22,000 that I had to live off of for the year. I didn't even add food, other expenses, just the things that we need, necessities, toilet paper, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of this stuff that these guys are talking about is fantastical. I mean, the wealth data is here. Ours is the Europeans, the whites is the blue line. Ours is the red line. You see, it shows that by 2024, we'll be at 1633 on this chart. One report shows that we'll be at 0 by 2053. New reports show that we'll be
this is before COVID.
Before COVID. This was before we lost all of the jobs. So, I'm not going to get into these charts right here. I'm going to stop sharing right there. But I just have to break that down for the people that we can't live in a fantasy world anymore. No more this goofy nonsense. No more of it. We got to get our politics done, and we got to get it done right.
Yo, hey, brother, could you pull my screen up so we can continue to get rid of the fantasy, right?
Definitely.
I just want to bring this back because I mentioned it, right? We talk in the spirit of buying power, right? Look at what it says, right? Black folks, right? We 13.4% of the population, right? Look at the buying power. We want to talk about what is 1.4 trillion to 13.2 trillion? Is that powerful? How can you act like we live in a country by ourselves? Like we're robots are producing everything and we just find our stuff in the world alone. We are up against 13.2 trillion. Our little 1.4 trillion ain't no power, fam. That's all I pulled this up for you to see. And so if we had like 13.4%, something's wrong here. Look at this, right? Look at the shares of the buying power that we have. They're 8.9. That's weird, right? They should at least be 13.4%, the same shares of the population, right? Look at this though, white folks, 7.62, 76.2 shares of the population. Look of the buying power. It's more than their shares of the population. 81.7. So how? Like, this is speaking to everything that we've been talking about. They have, their buying power is greater than the shares of the population that they have. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? We're not even equal to the shares of the population that we have in buying power. And we talking about 1.4 trillion against 13.2 trillion, plus the Asians 1.2, plus the Latinos 1.7, which is more than ours. So that, come on, what are we talking about? All right, I'm gonna get out of this because fantasy is what people want. Powerful, but reality is what they need, man.
And that's what we're giving them. We're giving them steady doses of reality on a daily basis. Like, we try to do our videos on the off day, that Yvette and Tone going in, and so that people could see that we're gonna flood y'all. We are gonna absolutely flood y'all, and we're not gonna stop. We're going to transform the political platform. When it's all said and done, and it will be said, and it will be done, we're going to be in the building. That's a fact. We're going to be at that table. We're going to be at that stove, straight up.
Not the kiddie table either. Not the kiddie table either.
That's right.
Some of y'all want to see at the kiddie table. We ain't doing that.
No,
Brother Ali, you had something you wanted to add real quick?
I did, but I forgot what it was, man. I went over so many things. It's all good.
Brother Josh.
You muted, mute, brother. You muted, Josh.
Yeah, let's leave this silly stuff alone, y'all. Like, come on. Like I said, we over here. We for our agenda. We're not focused on the left. We're not left wing. We're not right wing. We're not progressive and liberal and all this kind of stuff. We agenda based. Like, we can't afford to be anything else. That's just what it is. Like, we can't. Like, we're running around here like we already got reparations.
Mm-hmm.
People run around like we already got reparations. People talking all kind of crazy stuff that we don't have. Like, just because you see these dudes talking about this, just because. And I think a lot of times we don't realize that the people like young Pharaoh and some of these other folks you're listening to, they getting their stuff from like right-wing conspiracy theorists. That's why they have an affinity for making pictures like the one we show, because they get their information they're sharing from you from a bunch of right-wing conspiracy theorists. And let's be honest, this guy has a lot of YouTube followers. I mean, is he a graduate of a college? Does he have a full-time job, or does he sit on YouTube and make videos all day? So he's trying to pay his bills too. So he's trying to provide entertainment and content. Oh, yeah. You keep stuff seriously. Yeah. You know what I mean? So we're doing serious stuff that's not trying to eat and pay our bills off this. We're trying to build for the people. Okay. We're trying to give us what we need to give our people what we need to hear to get us on code so we can move the needle in the reparations fight. So like, we can't listen to or give any power to these grifters. And that's just all I got to say on it.
Definitely. Anybody else? We at the 2 hour and 22 minute mark. We sought to make a point tonight. Go ahead, Brother Ali.
I think y'all covered everything you needed to cover. I mean, I don't know what else there is, but this guy's a joke, yo.
Yeah, really. Yeah. Easy work, light work. It don't matter what the topic is. It don't matter what the topic is. These guys can't deal with the truth, and our people just have an affinity for falsehood and an affinity for fantasy. And this is why you see a bunch of politicians that's down with N Cobra sitting around doing the Wakanda battle.
Wakanda shuffle.
The Wakanda shuffle. Like, that's a movie, dog.
Yo,
that's a movie. What's wrong with y'all, man? We have to press them with this harsh reality, and we kind of touched on this on our last show when we were talking about the Nation of Islam not doing politics and not getting the people up to that standard in this moment right now. Is politics is what moves this land. It's mainspring. Politics is the mainspring of every country, but it's not like the United States of America. Most countries don't have the political mechanisms that the United States of America has with its equal powers and things of that nature, government, legislative, executive, judicial. These things are being eroded right now. And where does that erosion come from? People just looking at Trump and they're looking at the Republicans. But the Democrats, and if we want to be specific, the left wing also let a lot of this stuff slide. They let those textbooks from the daughters of the Confederacy come up north to the schools that I attended. This whitewashed, revised history. They let that stuff happen. Those northern insurance companies were indemnifying slaves and plantations. And these things worked hand in hand. So I don't want anybody to think that this is just us riding on the Republican Party, because we ride on both. They're both useless cumberers at the day, but they are like the agents in the Matrix. They can be anything and anybody whenever they want to be, and they're difficult to fight. They have the media at their disposal. They could get somebody to write an article on reparations, throw her on MSNBC, and say, thank you for sparking this reparations conversation, right? You are the go-to person for reparations. We have to be aware of that. We have to fight. So we helping in that fight right now. And I'm going to always say this, because this dude, young Pharaoh, says he's the Malcolm of, man, please.
He must have been talking about Malcolm in the middle.
Malcolm in the middle, because he definitely talk about Malcolm X. We the Malcolm of this thing right here. And that's a fact. We come from the lineage directly. So in this moment, we have to make the Malcolm element unified with the Martin element. And we see the Martin element in Civil Rights 2.0, which is being moved and pushed by the ADOS movement unequivocally. And this is ruffling a lot of feathers in the mainstream. They don't like these people who have come, and I like to fight. My brother, Dr. Lodge, he's a fighter too. We love this stuff. We love this stuff, right? And we talk about fighting. And then we talk mental fighting.
Yeah. And I seen young Pharaoh doing his Muay Thai and MMA. I'll tell you right now, if anybody knows him, I challenge young Pharaoh to a hand-to-hand fight to the death. I'll sign waivers and anything. And because I get it in like that too in real life. Like Dominican J say, he ain't ADOS either. He be talking about doing it in real life. I do that in real life with you. You hear me? So I just had to say that.
No doubt. I mean,
I've been telling the brothers that all week. I'm like, yo, I really, but
we men at the end of the day,
real.
Right? We men. We could talk a little saucy and a little spicy a little bit. It is what it is. It is what it is, So
man, combat to the death, huh?
Sign the
way off my bucket list. That's on my bucket list, man. One of the things to do before I get up out of here, man.
Hey, my brother is a soldier. Like my brother is a soldier, so it is what it is.
It's for sport. Just for this MJ dude. That's not out of no hate. I grew up a boxer. I grew up fighting for sport and for fun, and I seen that young Pharaoh does it for sport and for fun. It's not I want to fight him because I'm mad at him or nothing like that. I'm lightweight joking, and I'm also serious because, like I said, I grew up fighting all my life for sport, for fun. I did that, Golden Gloves, all of that. You know what I'm saying? So don't get it twisted. But on a serious note, very serious note, when we talk about Black Republicans and we talking about Black Democrats, understand that there's only one agenda for Black people. And the Republicans and the Democrat as a party system, they're just pockets on the same pants. And until they come out of them pockets with reparations money for ADOS, I don't care about that. All we need to know is if you're gonna be in the right pocket or the left pocket as a black individual, as ADOS, when you come up out them pockets, you better have some money for ADOS. You know what I'm saying? So no taxation without reparations, and give me reparations or give me death. And I'm screaming that every show, every day. If you're a black politician, you can be on the right if that's where you want. If you're gonna be on the right, you better be right. And if you're gonna be on the left, you better be advocating for ADOS reparations checks. You understand?
Real talk.
So, Brother Ali, I mean, you know, just close us out with something, then Brother Josh, and then I'll take it. We hitting the 2 hour and 30-minute mark. Let me just say real quick, thank you to the family, everybody that's listening in. Hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Come rock out with us, man. Come get this political education on this side of things. We're still learning, and as we learn, we share. As we learn, we share. Brother Ali?
I would just say that we have to really be careful and watch the people who are anti-reparationists, because a lot of times they are immigrants. You know, I don't know what Pharaoh is, but a lot of these people don't even know what they're talking about. I think did a great job exposing that with him. It's really easy. Like you said, it was light work. It's not even a lot to it. But you guys did a great job presenting the data again, as usual. That's something that he's not going to ever touch on because that's not his thing. That's not King Face's thing. Angela Stanton's not going to go there, you know, but I hope that she at some point does come around in terms of being an actual advocate. You know, she says she's not against it, so maybe we can push her on over the edge and becoming an advocate over there in the Republican space. So I think that would be great if she would.
Yeah, that would be great. I would love that. I would love that. Like, at the end of the day, we understand that politics is an exchange.
Exactly.
It's what how that quote go?
Politics is an exchange, not a gift.
Yeah, go ahead. Because I had a different one that's kind of similar. Where it says the politics is the game of who gets what. Nobody can avoid the game. Either you play or you get played.
Facts. Brother Josh.
Yeah. Just say, look, all this like again, I already said my last point, man. Hey, no, Dr. Logic said no reparations. No, what did you say? Say it again for me.
No taxation without reparations.
Yeah. And you can't have no separation without reparations.
Facts. So
be the power. Like, subscribe,
donate. We trying to grow.
Build this channel up, man. Build this channel up. Like,
so it's getting there slowly but surely. It's climbing slowly but surely.
Yeah, we doing something that's we're talking about different subjects. You know, we're trying to put our work in this movement. So I hope y'all are appreciating, and I hope y'all feel that we're bringing something unique to the discussion. And I hope those who may be offended because they are following or they like a certain person that we're discussing on here. Look, hold these people accountable. You know, you might feel a certain way about us right now, but number one, go and disprove what we said. You know, if you can do that, and then take this back to them and make them make some adjustments. Like they shouldn't just get the grift. Like feel a certain type of way about that. Don't you feel like you getting played a fool? I mean, don't take that out on us. Go and take that up with them and hold them accountable and make them answer for that. So that's what I wanted to say in that regard.
That's right.
So we're gonna. Oh yeah, what you were saying, something, Ali?
I said I agree.
All right, so let's close this out to the family. No more pseudo. Like, you can't just be pseudo in every space. You talk about religion, you pseudo. You talk about astral projection into people's living room, you're pseudo. You talk about reparations, and if you don't know what haplogroup you come from, you're pseudo, like no more pseudos. And if you try to come in this space right here, where some of the sharpest minds are, you're gonna get cut 1,000 ways this Sunday, point blank, period. You're gonna get this work, period. So we had to do this show tonight. We wanted to show people like King Face and Candace Owens. They're from the Caribbean. They don't care nothing about us. They were more than likely raised off of the idea that we were lazy, that we don't like to do anything for ourselves. I watched the dude King Face in some barbershop somewhere. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. I wish I was at that barbershop at that time. Just to be honest with you, that's just how I felt. I wish I was there. Talk about we on welfare. It was like listening to a European, a white person in the 60s, talking down to a bunch of our people. So we're not gonna let this stuff slide. We're gonna call these people for who they are. These people are not us, although they look like us. And we're gonna invade their space wherever they are. They're gonna see us. So, and wherever y'all see these people at, the King Faces, the Candace Owens, young Pharaoh talking that nonsense, we put enough data and statistics in this show tonight for you, even if you're a young Pharaoh follower, to start asking him questions. Well, what about the data that says such and such and such and such? And you're going to watch him pull something out of thin air because he's not versed in this stuff. He's not trying to be. The most of the Republican Party goes off of a bunch of conspiracy theories in the first place. This is how they keep their base solidified. That's why Trump retweets that stuff. This is why a group like QAnon, which could make up the craziest nonsense, like Robert Mueller, is working with Trump to go against the deep state. Like, what is these people talking about? And you got people that was running around saying that stuff for months. It's time to get rid of this nonsense, family. Young Pharaoh, King Face, Candace Owens, you name all of the black Republicans. Y'all send this video to them. Tell them we on their heels. We are on your heels. We're not going to let y'all drag our people into more decades of decadence. We're just not going to do that at all. So I'm going to close out with the show's motto, which is don't just fight the power, become the power. And then and only then will you have the power to make a change. And with that, I say peace.